It is 3 in the morning. The house is quiet, wrapped in a profound stillness that only the deepest hours of the night can offer. But in the landscape of your mind, a storm is raging. Your eyes are open, staring into the dark. But what you see is not the gentle shadow play on the ceiling. You see the ghosts of yesterday, replaying a conversation you wish you could take back, feeling the sting of a careless word. You see the endless blueprints of tomorrow, a towering structure of obligations, worries, and what-ifs. Each thought is a thread, and together they weave a tight, invisible net around you. This is a unique kind of exhaustion, a weariness of the soul that sleep is meant to cure, but has instead become the stage for its most intense performance. You are tired, but your mind refuses to rest. This experience, this feeling of being a prisoner within your own skull, is not a personal failure. It is not a sign that you are broken. It is rather a shared condition of our modern age. Think of your mind as a beautiful, simple bowl. By its nature, it is meant to hold things, to receive, to be a vessel. It is designed to hold the nourishment of a new idea, the warmth of a happy memory, the clear water of insight. But we, in our constant rush, have forgotten its nature. We have filled it to the brim, and then we have kept pouring. We pour in the endless scroll of digital noise from our screens. We pour in the relentless pressure to be more, to do more, to achieve more. We pour in the acidic residue of old regrets and the anxious steam of future plans. Our bowl is overflowing. It is so full of clutter, so heavy with the weight of everything we carry, that there is no longer any space left for peace. There is no longer any space left for sleep. But what if the answer was not to fight? What if the goal was not to wrestle the mind into submission, to force it into a state of quiet? What if the path to rest was not a battle, but an act of release? What if the goal was simply and gently to empty the bowl? There exists an ancient path of wisdom, not a religion that demands blind faith, but a practical toolkit for the human mind, a science of inner experience. It teaches that the peace we so desperately seek is not something we must build, but something we must uncover. It is our natural state, waiting patiently beneath the noise. This path offers a way to carefully, and with great compassion, begin tipping our own bowl, letting the contents spill out, not to be lost, but to be understood and released. This is the path of stillness, and it begins with the simple, profound art of learning how to let go. Before we can learn how to empty the bowl of the mind, we must first have the courage to look inside it. We must understand, with clarity and without judgment, what it is that we have filled it with, and why it has become so heavy. It is a quiet investigation, an archaeology of our own consciousness, not to assign blame, but to simply see what is there. For many of us, the contents are strikingly similar. They are the artifacts of the world we inhabit, and the habits of mind we have been conditioned to accept as normal. The first thing we notice is the constant, relentless downpour of information. Never before in human history has the mind been subjected to such a ceaseless assault. We carry a small, glowing portal in our pockets, and with a simple touch, we can summon the triumphs and tragedies of the entire world, the curated joys of hundreds of acquaintances, the urgent opinions of strangers, and an endless river of data designed to capture and hold our attention. Each notification, each headline, each image is a small stone dropped into our bowl. By itself, it seems insignificant, but thousands of them, day after day, create a sediment so thick it clouds everything. Our minds have been trained, from the moment we wake to the moment we try to sleep, to be reactive. We are trained to jump from one stimulus to the next, to process, to have an opinion, to feel a jolt of outrage or a flicker of envy. We have become professional consumers of mental content, and so, when the lights go out and the world finally falls silent, our mind does not know how to stop. It continues the only job it has been trained for. It jumps, it processes, it reacts, it searches for the next stone to turn over, the next piece of data to analyze, because the muscle of stillness has been allowed to atrophy, while the muscle of distraction has been exercised to the point of exhaustion. Layered on top of this digital sediment is the immense pressure of a culture that worships productivity. We live under the quiet tyranny of the to-do list. There is a small accountant who lives in our head, and at the end of each day, he tallies the ledger. Was the day a success? Was every hour optimized? Was every task completed? We have come to believe that our worth is measured by our output, by what we can show for our time on earth. And in this belief system, rest is not seen as a sacred necessity, but as a form of theft. It is time stolen from achievement. This pressure doesn't stop when we close our laptops. It follows us into our homes, into our relationships, and even into our beds. The sanctuary of sleep becomes just another office, a pre-dawn boardroom where we plan the next day's campaigns. The mind, instead of powering down, boots up a new program. It strategizes. It rehearses difficult conversations. It organizes schedules. It worries about deadlines. We lie there, physically still, but mentally we are running, caught on a treadmill of our own making, feeling a deep, nagging guilt that even in our rest, we are not being productive enough. This belief transforms the simple act of lying down into a performance review and the quiet of the night into a stark reminder of all that has not yet been done. Perhaps the deepest and most subtle substance filling our bowl is a profound misunderstanding of who we are. We have come to believe that we are the contents of the bowl. We have mistaken the thoughts for the thinker, the weather for the sky. When a wave of anxiety washes through the mind, we do not say, a feeling of anxiety is present. We say, I am anxious. When a critical thought arises, we do not see it as a fleeting mental event. We believe, I am a critical person. This act of identification is the root of so much of our struggle. It gives a phantom-like thought the weight and substance of our very identity. If you believe you are your thoughts, then you have no choice but to be tossed about by them. You are no longer the spacious, aware presence in which thoughts appear and disappear. You become the thought itself, trapped in its narrative, bound by its logic, and subject to its emotional charge. This is why it feels so personal, so impossible to escape. We are not just struggling with a busy mind, we believe we are a busy mind. And so we defend its patterns, we obey its commands, and we suffer its turmoil as if it were the very essence of our being. Given all of this, is it any wonder that we have developed a fear of stillness? The silence is where we are forced to confront the sheer volume of what we carry. When the external distractions fade away, the internal noise can become a roar. The unanswered emails, the financial worries, the health concerns, the family conflicts, they all begin to speak at once. And so, we become experts at avoidance. We fill the evening with noise, with one more episode of a show, with aimless scrolling through our phones, with tasks and chores, anything to keep the silence at bay. We use worry itself as a distraction, preferring the familiar discomfort of a known anxiety to the vast, unknown territory of a quiet mind. We have become uncomfortable simply being with ourselves because we have forgotten that beneath the noise there is a foundation of peace. We have filled our lives with so much doing that we have forgotten how to simply be. There's a well-known story that speaks to this condition with perfect clarity. A highly educated scholar, renowned for his knowledge of spiritual texts, traveled a great distance to meet a famous Zen master. Upon being welcomed into the master's simple hut, the scholar immediately began to speak. He spoke of all the books he had read, the complex philosophies he had studied, the profound insights he had gathered. He talked and talked, eager to display the impressive contents of his mind. The Zen master listened patiently and then began to prepare tea. He placed a simple cup before the scholar and began to pour. The scholar, momentarily distracted from his monologue, watched as the hot tea filled the cup. But the master did not stop. The tea reached the brim and then began to spill over, cascading onto the saucer and then onto the table. "Stop!" the scholar cried out. "It's overflowing! No more will go in!" The Zen master stopped pouring, looked calmly at the scholar and said, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" We are all that scholar. We arrive at the doorstep of our own peace each night with a cup that is already overflowing. It is filled with the noise of the world, with the pressures of our culture, and with a deep-seated confusion about who we are. We have now looked into the cup. We have seen what is there. The next step is not to be discouraged by its fullness, but to learn with the gentle patience of that master what it truly means to begin to empty it. What is this emptiness we seek? It is not a void, but a possibility. It is not an absence, but a presence. It is the beginning of our journey home. The word itself, emptiness, can be unsettling. In our language, in our culture, it often stands next to loss, to lack, to a cold and desolate void. It speaks of an empty house after a family has moved on, of an empty wallet, of a heart empty of joy. We instinctively feel that emptiness is something to be avoided, a vacuum that must be filled at all costs. And so, when we are invited to empty the mind, it is natural to feel a sense of resistance, a flicker of fear. It sounds like an invitation to nothingness, to a state of blank non-existence. But the wisdom of this ancient path asks us to pause, to set aside our inherited definitions, and to consider a radically different perspective. The emptiness spoken of here is not a void, but a space. It is not nothingness, but a profound and liberating potential. It is the very foundation upon which peace is built. To understand this, we need only look at the world around us. What gives a bowl its purpose? It is the empty space inside it. That emptiness is what allows it to hold water, to contain rice, to be of service. A bowl that is already filled with cement is useless. What gives a room its function? It is the empty space within its walls. That emptiness is what allows us to enter, to live, to breathe, to find shelter. A room packed to the ceiling with furniture is not a room, it is a storage unit. What gives music its beauty, its rhythm, its heart? It is the silence between the notes. That emptiness, that pause, is what gives shape and meaning to the sound. Without the silence, music would only be a chaotic, unbearable noise. In all these cases, emptiness is not a lack. It is the essential condition for possibility. It is a welcoming, a readiness, a receptive quiet. When we speak of emptying the mind, this is the emptiness we are cultivating. It is not the annihilation of the mind, but the restoration of its natural function. Imagine your mind as that cluttered room we spoke of. For years, you have been accumulating things. There are heavy, ornate pieces of furniture from the past regrets, resentments, old hurts. There are stacks of unopened boxes containing anxieties about the future. Papers and useless trinkets are scattered everywhere, representing the constant chatter and distractions of daily life. The room is so full that you can barely move. It feels suffocating, oppressive. To empty this room does not mean to dynamite the house. It simply means to begin, piece by piece, to remove the clutter. You open the windows to let in fresh air and light. You gently carry out the old, heavy furniture that no longer serves you. You sweep the floor clear of debris. And what are you left with? Not a void. You are left with space. You are left with potential. You are left with a sanctuary, a place where you can finally rest, move freely, and decide with intention what you wish to bring into it. This is the emptiness of the meditative mind. It is the absence of the unnecessary which finally allows the presence of the essential peace, clarity, and a quiet, spacious awareness. The most powerful way to feel this is to look up at the sky. Think of the sky as the true nature of your mind. It is by its very essence, boundless, open, clear, and luminous. It has no center and no edge. It is inherently peaceful. Now think of your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations as the weather, as the clouds that drift through the sky. Some days, the clouds are white, puffy, and pleasant. These are your happy thoughts, your moments of joy. Some days, dark, heavy storm clouds gather. These are your moments of anxiety, anger, or grief. Sometimes, the clouds are so thick and dense that you forget the blue sky exists at all. You look up, and all you can see is the gray, turbulent storm. And in that moment, you might believe that the sky is the storm. But is it? Has the storm ever truly stained the sky? Has a cloud, no matter how dark or violent, ever left a permanent scar on the vast blue expanse behind it? It has not. The sky allows the clouds to come and go without resistance. It provides the space for the entire drama of the weather to unfold, but it remains untouched, unchanged, and unharmed. The storm passes, as all storms do, and the blue sky is revealed once again as pristine and clear as it was before the storm began. This is the great secret. You are the sky, not the clouds. Your awareness, that deep and quiet part of you that is able to know that you are thinking, is the sky. Your thoughts, your worries, your plans, your memories, these are merely the clouds. We spend our lives chasing the pleasant clouds and running from the stormy ones, completely identified with the weather, forgetting that our true nature is the vast, open sky that holds all of it. To empty the mind is to shift your identity. It is to stop being a cloud and to remember that you are the sky. It is to rest in that spacious awareness and to learn to watch the weather of your mind pass by without being swept away by it. This understanding goes even deeper. This wisdom teaches that even the clouds themselves are empty. This does not mean they are not there. A storm cloud is very real. It means they are empty of a solid, separate, permanent self. A storm cloud is a temporary phenomenon, a coming together of temperature, moisture, and air pressure. It has no fixed core. It is a process, constantly changing, and eventually it will dissipate and disappear. So it is with a worry. A worry feels so solid, so real, so personal. But what is it truly? It is a collection of thoughts, images in the mind, and sensations in the body, like a tight chest or a knot in the stomach. If you look at it closely, you cannot find a single, solid thing called worry. You only find these changing components. It too is a process, a temporary weather pattern. When we understand this, our grip begins to loosen. How can you hold on to something that has no solid substance? The struggle to grasp and control it is revealed as an exhausting and futile effort. Letting go is no longer a struggle, but a logical and compassionate response to the way things truly are. So do not fear the word emptiness. Reclaim it. See it not as a hollow void, but as an open hand. See it as a clean slate. The empty bowl is not a symbol of poverty, it is a symbol of perfect readiness. It is a mind that is no longer burdened by the past or terrified of the future. A mind that is open, present, and available to the miracle of this very moment. We have now seen what this emptiness truly is, the spacious, peaceful nature of our own awareness. We understand that this is our destination, our home ground. The next question, the most practical and important question, is how do we begin the journey? How do we start to clear the clouds? The answer lies not in some complex philosophical maneuver, but in the simplest, most humble, and most readily available tool we possess. It begins with the one thing that has been with us every moment of our lives. It begins with the breath. The word itself, emptiness, can be unsettling. In our language, in our culture, it often stands next to loss, to lack, to a cold and desolate void. It speaks of an empty house after a family has moved on, of an empty wallet, of a heart empty of joy. We instinctively feel that emptiness is something to be avoided, a vacuum that must be filled at all costs. And so, when we are invited to empty the mind, it is natural to feel a sense of resistance, a flicker of fear. It sounds like an invitation to nothingness, to a state of blank non-existence. But the wisdom of this ancient path asks us to pause, to set aside our inherited definitions, and to consider a radically different perspective. The emptiness spoken of here is not a void, but a space. It is not nothingness, but a profound and liberating potential. It is the very foundation upon which peace is built. To understand this, we need only look at the world around us. What gives a bowl its purpose? It is the empty space inside it. That emptiness is what allows it to hold water, to contain rice, to be of service. A bowl that is already filled with cement is useless. What gives a room its function? It is the empty space within its walls. That emptiness is what allows us to enter, to live, to breathe, to find shelter. A room packed to the ceiling with furniture is not a room, it is a storage unit. What gives music its beauty, its rhythm, its heart? It is the silence between the notes. That emptiness, that pause, is what gives shape and meaning to the sound. Without the silence, music would only be a chaotic, unbearable noise. In all these cases, emptiness is not a lack. It is the essential condition for possibility. It is a welcoming, a readiness, a receptive quiet. When we speak of emptying the mind, this is the emptiness we are cultivating. It is not the annihilation of the mind, but the restoration of its natural function. Imagine your mind is that cluttered room we spoke of. For years you have been accumulating things. There are heavy, ornate pieces of furniture from the past regrets, resentments, old hurts. There are stacks of unopened boxes containing anxieties about the future. Papers and useless trinkets are scattered everywhere, representing the constant chatter and distractions of daily life. The room is so full that you can barely move. It feels suffocating, oppressive. To empty this room does not mean to dynamite the house. It simply means to begin, piece by piece, to remove the clutter. You open the windows to let in fresh air and light. You gently carry out the old, heavy furniture that no longer serves you. You sweep the floor clear of debris. And what are you left with? Not a void. You are left with space. You are left with potential. You are left with a sanctuary, a place where you can finally rest, move freely, and decide with intention what you wish to bring into it. This is the emptiness of the meditative mind. It is the absence of the unnecessary, which finally allows the presence of the essential peace, clarity, and a quiet, spacious awareness. The most powerful way to feel this is to look up at the sky. Think of the sky as the true nature of your mind. It is, by its very essence, boundless, open, clear, and luminous. It has no center and no edge. It is inherently peaceful. Now, think of your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations as the weather, as the clouds that drift through the sky. Some days the clouds are white, puffy, and pleasant. These are your happy thoughts, your moments of joy. Some days, dark, heavy storm clouds gather. These are your moments of anxiety, anger, or grief. Sometimes, the clouds are so thick and dense that you forget the blue sky exists at all. You look up, and all you can see is the gray, turbulent storm. And in that moment, you might believe that the sky is the storm. But is it? Has the storm ever truly stained the sky? Has a cloud, no matter how dark or violent, ever left a permanent scar on the vast blue expanse behind it? It has not. The sky allows the clouds to come and go without resistance. It provides the space for the entire drama of the weather to unfold, but it remains untouched, unchanged, and unharmed. The storm passes, as all storms do, and the blue sky is revealed once again, as pristine and clear as it was before the storm began. This is the great secret. You are the sky, not the clouds. Your awareness, that deep and quiet part of you that is able to know that you are thinking, is the sky. Your thoughts, your worries, your plans, your memories, these are merely the clouds. We spend our lives chasing the pleasant clouds and running from the stormy ones, completely identified with the weather, forgetting that our true nature is the vast, open sky that holds all of it. To empty the mind is to shift your identity. It is to stop being a cloud and to remember that you are the sky. It is to rest in that spacious awareness and to learn to watch the weather of your mind pass by without being swept away by it. This understanding goes even deeper. This wisdom teaches that even the clouds themselves are empty. This does not mean they are not there. A storm cloud is very real. It means they are empty of a solid, separate, permanent self. A storm cloud is a temporary phenomenon, a coming together of temperature, moisture, and air pressure. It has no fixed core. It is a process, constantly changing, and eventually it will dissipate and disappear. So it is with a worry. A worry feels so solid, so real, so personal, but what is it truly? It is a collection of thoughts, images in the mind, and sensations in the body, like a tight chest or a knot in the stomach. If you look at it closely, you cannot find a single solid thing called worry. You only find these changing components. It too is a process, a temporary weather pattern. When we understand this, our grip begins to loosen. How can you hold on to something that has no solid substance? The struggle to grasp and control it is revealed as an exhausting and futile effort. Letting go is no longer a struggle, but a logical and compassionate response to the way things truly are. So do not fear the word emptiness. Reclaim it. See it not as a hollow void, but as an open hand. See it as a clean slate. The empty bowl is not a symbol of poverty. It is a symbol of perfect readiness. It is a mind that is no longer burdened by the past or terrified of the future. A mind that is open, present, and available to the miracle of this very moment. We have now seen what this emptiness truly is, the spacious, peaceful nature of our own awareness. We understand that this is our destination, our home ground. The next question, the most practical and important question, is how do we begin the journey? How do we start to clear the clouds? The answer lies not in some complex philosophical maneuver, but in the simplest, most humble, and most readily available tool we possess. It begins with the one thing that has been with us every moment of our lives. It begins with the breath. We have found our anchor, the breath. It is the simple, faithful friend that can always guide us back to the calm shores of the present moment. But even the most securely anchored ship can be tossed about if it is moored in a turbulent harbor. And so, our next step is to look at the harbor itself. We must turn our attention from the inner world of the mind to the outer world of our environment. If our mind is the bowl, then our bedroom is the table upon which it rests. A cluttered, chaotic, and unsteady table will surely trouble the bowl. To cultivate inner peace, we must create an outer sanctuary. We must, with gentle and deliberate intention, prepare the vessel for the profound work of rest. In our modern world, the bedroom has forgotten its purpose. It has become a multi-purpose hub, a command center for our lives. It is often an office, with a laptop open on the nightstand, silently pulsing with the energy of unfinished work. It is a movie theater, with a television on the wall, filling the darkness with violent, exciting, or dramatic images right before we ask our minds to be still. It is a restaurant, with the remnants of a late-night snack leaving a trace of restless energy. It is a newsroom, a social club, and an information terminal, all contained in the glowing screen of the phone we place on the pillow next to our head. We have filled our most sacred space of rest with the noise and demands of the waking world. And then we wonder why we cannot sleep. The brain learns through association. If it learns that the bed is a place for work, entertainment, eating, and arguing, it receives a cascade of confusing signals when we lie down and demand that it suddenly become silent. It is like asking a racehorse, still sweating and agitated from the track, to instantly fall into a deep slumber. The first act in preparing our vessel is a gentle but firm reclamation. It is the act of re-sanctifying the space, of lovingly restoring the bedroom to its original, sacred purpose, rest and intimacy. This is a practical, physical process. Look around your room with new eyes. The stack of bills, the exercise equipment, the piles of unfolded laundry-atch object carries its own frequency, its own silent to-do list. When possible, move these things to another room. Let your bedroom be a space that is visually calm. The television, the laptop, the tablet, these are uninvited guests in your sanctuary of sleep. Make a conscious choice to give them a resting place outside the bedroom door. This simple act of creating physical boundaries sends a powerful message to your subconscious mind. This space is different. This space is holy. This is a place where the work of the world is not welcome. This is a place for letting go. To aid in this transition from the world of doing to the world of being, we can create a simple personal ritual. A ritual is not a complex ceremony. It is a consistent series of actions that signal a shift in consciousness. It is a buffer zone, a gentle off-ramp from the busy highway of your day. Perhaps your ritual begins with what we might call a digital sunset. At least an hour before you intend to sleep, you consciously decide to turn off all screens. You say goodnight to the glowing world of information and allow the inner sun of your mind to begin its natural descent. This is not just a poetic idea. The blue light from these devices actively hinders your body's production of melatonin, the hormone of sleep. By turning them off, you are aligning your own biology with the ancient rhythm of the earth. Your ritual might then include a sensory element that soothes the body. It could be the simple act of brewing and sipping a cup of warm, caffeine-free herbal tea like chamomile or lavender. As you drink it, you do nothing else. You just feel the warmth of the mug in your hands. You notice the fragrant steam. You feel the warm liquid soothing your body. Or perhaps your ritual is a warm bath, a profound way to release the physical tension of the day. It could be 10 minutes of gentle stretching, or reading a few pages from a physical book, something calming, not a thriller that excites the mind. Another powerful ritual is to keep a worry journal by your bed. Before turning off the light, take a few moments to write down anything and everything that is on your mind. Every to-do item, every unresolved problem, every anxious thought. Externalize it. Pour it out onto the page. This is not to dwell on it, but to park it. You are making a contract with your mind, telling it, I see you. I hear these concerns. They are now safe on this page, and we will attend to them in the morning. For tonight, your work is done. The mind, feeling heard, is often then more willing to be quiet. Pay attention, too, to the subtle influences of light and sound. In the evening, avoid harsh overhead lights. Use a small, dim lamp with a warm-toned bulb, mimicking the gentle glow of candlelight or a fireplace. Allow the light in your environment to guide you towards softness and rest. And listen to the sound of your space. For some, profound silence is the key. For others, especially in a noisy city, that silence can be jarring. In that case, create a gentle blanket of sound. This could be a white noise machine, the gentle hum of a fan, or recording of soft rain. The goal is a sound that is consistent and non-stimulating, a sound that masks aural intrusions and gives the listening mind a smooth, neutral surface to rest upon. Underlying all of these practical steps is one final, crucial preparation, the cultivation of respect for sleep. We have been taught to see sleep as a passive void, an inconvenient necessity, a period of lost time that could have been used more productively. We crash into bed. We conquer our insomnia. We fight for a good night's rest. This language of violence and struggle creates an adversarial relationship with one of the most healing and mysterious processes of our lives. Wisdom traditions see it differently. Sleep is a nightly pilgrimage. It is a sacred process of dissolving the ego, of releasing our tight grip on control, and of returning to the deep, source-level consciousness from which we emerge each morning. It is a profound act of surrender and trust. When you begin to approach sleep with this sense of reverence, everything changes. You are no longer demanding something from it. You are humbly and gratefully receiving its gift. There is a story of a young, eager monk who wished to learn meditation from a great master. The master agreed, and for his first lesson, he handed the young monk a broom and told him to sweep the vast temple grounds. The monk was disappointed, but he obeyed. He swept for days, then weeks, growing ever more frustrated. Finally, he went to the master and said, "I came here to learn to meditate, not to be a janitor." The master smiled and replied, "You have been meditating all along." The act of preparing the space, of creating cleanliness and order, of attending to the world with care that is the beginning of all true stillness. Your bedroom is your temple. The act of tidying your space, of dimming the lights, of putting your phone to rest for the night, of brewing a simple cup of tea, this is not a list of chores. This is the sweeping of the temple floor. This is the beginning of your meditation. We have now found our internal anchor, the breath, and we have prepared our external sanctuary, the bedroom. The space is calm, the anchor is in hand. Now we are ready. We are ready to sit in the quiet temple we have prepared and face the final frontier, the contents of the bowl itself. How do we now watch the ever-swirling thoughts without being pulled into their currents? The temple is prepared, the room is quiet, the light is soft, the air is still. You are resting in your sanctuary, the body calm, the breath your gentle, rhythmic anchor. You have found the shore of the present moment. But even on this shore, the waves of the mind continue to roll in. A thought about an unpaid bill arrives. A memory from childhood surfaces. A sudden, anxious jolt about tomorrow's meeting appears from nowhere. This is not a sign of failure. This is not an interruption to your practice. This, right here, is the practice itself. Our goal was never to violently silence the mind, for that is an act of war against ourselves. Our goal is to change our fundamental relationship with our thoughts. It is to learn how to sit on that quiet shore and simply watch the waves without needing to command the ocean. It is the shift from being a passenger tossed about in a stormy sea to becoming the calm, unshakable lighthouse that observes it all from a place of safety. The foundation of this shift is the experiential understanding that you are not your thoughts. A thought is an event. It is a flash of lightning in the sky of your mind, a fleeting cloud, a single wave. It is something that you experience, but it is not the totality of who you are. The part of you that is aware of the thought, the part that can say, "Ah, a thought has arisen," is deeper and more fundamental than the thought itself. This is the inner lighthouse, the spacious awareness we have called the sky. To create a space between this awareness and the thought wave is the first step toward freedom. When you are standing on the side of a road and a car drives past, you do not for a moment believe that you are the car. You are the observer, and the car is a temporary object moving through your field of vision. We must learn to grant our thoughts this same courtesy, to view them with the same impersonal, gentle curiosity with which we would watch a car, a cloud, or a leaf floating down a stream. To do this, we employ a technique of profound simplicity and power, the art of mental labeling. It is a way of acknowledging a thought without getting entangled in its story. When you find that your attention has been carried away from the breath and has hooked onto a train of thought, you do not criticize yourself. Instead, you gently and without force name the activity. If you find yourself rehearsing what you're going to say in a meeting tomorrow, you can softly note in your mind, planning. If you are replaying an argument from yesterday, you can whisper internally, remembering. If you are caught in a spiral of what-ifs about your health or finances, you can simply label it worrying. Other labels might be judging, fantasizing, analyzing, doubting. The label is not a shout. It is a soft, friendly whisper. It is the touch of a feather, not the blow of a hammer. Its purpose is singular, to shift you from being the main character in the drama of the thought to being the audience member who is simply watching the play unfold. In that moment of labeling, you are no longer lost in the content of the worry. You have become aware of the process of worrying. That subtle shift is everything. Imagine your mind as a clear, tranquil pond. Your thoughts are the fish swimming within it. Our normal, untrained habit is to be a frantic fisherman. We see a beautiful, golden carp-a-happy memory, a pleasant fantasy, and we dive into the water, trying desperately to catch it and hold on to it. We see a dark, shadowy paikia fear, a painful memory, and we thrash about in the water, trying to chase it away. In both cases, the result is the same. We jump into the pond, we stir up all the mud from the bottom, the water becomes murky and chaotic, and we lose all clarity. The practice of labeling is the decision to put down the fishing rod and the net. It is the choice to simply sit peacefully on the grassy bank. From this vantage point, you just watch the fish. Ah, you note as a golden one swims by, remembering. Then a dark shape emerges from the reeds. Worrying. A whole school of tiny, darting fish appears. Planning. You don't interfere. You don't judge the fish. You don't try to catch them or chase them. You simply observe their nature, which is to swim into view and then swim away. By staying on the bank, you allow the mud to settle. You allow the water of the mind to regain its natural, undisturbed clarity. The true magic of this practice is unlocked when it is combined with an attitude of non-judgment. Our minds have a clever habit of adding a second layer of suffering to everything. First, there is the initial thought, the worry. Then, immediately, a second thought arrives, judging the first one. I shouldn't be worrying about this. I'm supposed to be meditating. I'm terrible at this. This second thought, this layer of self-criticism, is like adding salt to the wound. It is what fuels the cycle of anxiety. Gentle labeling cuts through this habit. The label is neutral. It is simply worrying, not bad worrying, or stupid worrying, or unacceptable worrying. Just the simple, factual recognition of the mental activity that is present. When a thought is met with this kind of calm, non-judgmental acceptance, it is like a fire that is deprived of oxygen. It has nothing to push against, no fuel for its drama. It is seen, it is acknowledged, and then, having not been fed by our resistance or our clinging, it naturally loses its energy and dissolves back into the pond. A story is told of two monks, one senior and one junior, who were on a long journey. They walked in silence. Eventually they came to a river with a strong current. A young woman stood by the bank, dressed in fine clothes, afraid to cross for fear of ruining her dress and being swept away. Without a word, the senior monk walked over to her, gracefully lifted her into his arms, carried her across the churning water, and gently set her down on the other side. He then continued on his way. The junior monk was aghast. He followed his master, his mind a storm of judgment. We are monks, he thought. We have taken vows not to touch a woman. How could he do that? It was a violation. What will people think? For hours, he walked behind the senior monk, stewing in his silent, righteous anger, the scene at the river replaying over and over in his mind. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, he rushed ahead and confronted his master. "Brother," he said, his voice trembling with indignation, "how could you do that? How could you break our sacred vows and carry that woman across the river?" The senior monk looked at his young companion with deep compassion in his eyes. He paused for a moment and then said softly, "Brother, I left that woman by the river hours ago. Are you still carrying her? We are all the junior monk. Every day, we pick up burdensome, careless comment, a mistake at work, a worry about the future, and we carry them with us, long after the event is over." The practice of observing and labeling our thoughts is the art of learning how to leave things by the river. It is the art of letting be and letting go. Now that we have learned how to watch the general flow of thoughts, we can deepen our practice by looking more closely at the most common and powerful types of thoughts that keep us carrying these heavy burdens. We will start by looking backward at the poison of yesterday. We have learned to sit on the bank of the pond, to watch the fish of our thoughts swim by without jumping in after them. As we watch, we begin to notice that certain fish appear more frequently than others. They are old, familiar shapes that swim up from the murky depths, their presence casting a long shadow over the clear water. These are the fish of the past. They are the memories, the regrets, the resentments, the what-ifs and the if-onlys. They are the ghosts that haunt the quiet hours of the night, turning our sanctuary of rest into a courtroom where we are perpetually on trial for crimes long since committed. To continue emptying our bowl, we must learn how to relate to these powerful visitors from a world that no longer exists. We must learn the gentle but firm art of letting go of yesterday. The first and most liberating truth we must absorb is this: the past has no power here. It does not exist. The event you are replaying in your mind, the argument, the mistake, the moment of embarrassment is gone. It is as vanished and inaccessible as the Roman Empire. What then is causing you pain right now as you lie in the dark? It is not the event itself. It is its echo. The suffering comes from two things that are happening in the present moment: a memory, which is nothing more than a specific pattern of neurons firing inside your brain right now, and an emotion, which is a cascade of physical sensations flowing through your body right now. You are not being harmed by the past. You are being harmed in the present by your own mind's insistence on recreating it. It is like watching a scary movie over and over again and being startled each time. The movie is just light and sound. Its power comes from your engagement with it. The past is just memory and sensation. Its power comes from your decision to keep pressing play. Within this churning sea of memory, it is crucial to draw a distinction between two very different experiences: the clean pain of guilt and the toxic, stagnant suffering of regret. Guilt, in its wisest form, is a healthy and necessary signal from our conscience. It is the simple, clear recognition that an action we took caused harm either to ourselves or to another. Wise guilt says, "That was a mistake. I have learned something from this. I will use this knowledge to become a more compassionate and skillful person, and I will do my best not to repeat that harm." It is forward-looking. Its purpose is to educate, to refine our character. It is a stepping stone to growth. Regret, on the other hand, is a prison. Regret is the act of endlessly reopening a wound, of picking at a scab so that it can never heal. It does not say, "I made a mistake." It says, "I am a mistake." It is backward-looking, chaining us to a version of ourselves that no longer exists. It is a form of self-punishment that serves absolutely no purpose other than to perpetuate our own suffering. When you are lying awake at 3 in the morning, replaying a scene from 5 years ago, you are not learning, you are not growing, you are simply steeping yourself in the poison of regret. The practice of emptying the bowl asks us to recognize this poison for what it is, and to stop drinking it. The antidote to the poison of regret is forgiveness, and the most difficult yet most essential person to forgive is often ourselves. We hold on to our past mistakes as if they are the core of our identity, believing that to let them go would be to somehow condone our own harmful behavior. But this is a misunderstanding. Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It is about recognizing that you, the person who is here now, no longer need to be punished for it. It is an act of profound compassion for the person you were back then, a person who was acting with the knowledge, the awareness, and the pain that they had at that time. Perhaps you can look back at that younger version of yourself, not with condemnation, but with a measure of grace. You can acknowledge that they were doing the best they could. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate sign of strength. It is the courage to declare that your past does not have to be a life sentence. It is the act of taking the key to your own prison cell, which you have been holding all along, and finally turning it in the lock. To help with this profound act, we can use a simple, gentle visualization. When you find yourself caught in the grip of a particular memory, a specific regret, allow yourself to do the following. Close your eyes and bring the memory to mind, just enough to feel its familiar, heavy presence. Now, imagine in your mind's eye a gently flowing stream. The water is clear, moving at a steady, unhurried pace. See a single beautiful autumn leaf, perhaps red or gold or orange, floating on the surface. Now, with a conscious intention, take the entire story of your regret-the images, the words, the feelings, and place it all onto the surface of that single leaf. And now, your only job is to watch. You watch as the current of the stream catches the leaf. You watch as it begins to drift away from you, slowly at first, then picking up speed. You watch it as it is carried downstream, getting smaller and smaller until it is just a tiny speck of color that finally disappears around a bend in the river. And you are left just sitting on the bank, watching the empty water flow by. You may have to perform this small ritual many times for the same memory. It does not matter. Each time you do it, you are strengthening the muscle of letting go. There is a story of the great Thai forest master, Ajahn Chah, that perfectly captures this teaching. He was leading his disciples on a walking meditation through the forest. He was known for his unconventional methods. At one point, he stopped, bent down, and picked up a large, heavy rock from the path. He held it out in his hand and turned to the monks. "Is this rock heavy?" he asked. The monks all looked at the rock and nodded. "Yes, teacher," they said, "it is very heavy." Ajahn Chah simply stood there, holding the rock. A minute passed, then two. His arm began to tremble with the strain. Finally, he looked at them and said, "The rock itself is not the source of the burden. Its nature is just to be a rock. The heaviness exists only because I am choosing to hold it. The longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes." He then paused, opened his hand, and gently let the rock fall to the ground with a soft thud. He looked at his students. "The practice," he said, "is to learn how to put the rock down. Your regrets, your resentments, your painful stories from the past, they are this rock. Their weight does not come from the events themselves, but from your continuous moment-to-moment decision to pick them up and carry them with you. Every time you ruminate, you are choosing to hold the rock. The freedom you seek lies in the simple, compassionate act of opening your hand. We have now seen how we can stop pouring the poisons of yesterday into our bowl, but the mind is a clever acrobat. If it cannot find torment by looking backward into the past, it will leap with equal agility into the mists of the future, searching for new troubles to create. Having learned to gently place the heavy rock of the past back on the ground, we might expect the mind to fall silent, to finally be at peace. But the mind is a creature of habit, and its most deeply ingrained habit is to be busy. If it can no longer find employment in the graveyards of yesterday, it will immediately seek a new job in the misty, unwritten landscapes of tomorrow. The mind performs a nimble, almost imperceptible leap from the realm of regret to the land of anxiety. The backward-looking film of If Only is replaced by the forward-looking horror movie of What If? What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if my presentation fails? What if they don't like me? We leave the solid, if painful, ground of what has been and venture into the phantom territory of what might be, a land that has no existence outside the spinning projector of our own thoughts. The suffering we experience from this forward-leaping mind comes from a single, flawed premise: the belief that we can and should control the future. Anxiety is the friction generated between our desire for certainty and the non-negotiable reality of uncertainty. Life, by its very nature, is a flow. It is a dance of unpredictable, interwoven causes and conditions. Our anxious mind, however, wants it to be a fortress. We lie in bed trying to draw up architectural plans for the next day, the next week, the next 10 years, desperately trying to account for every possibility, to neutralize every threat, to guarantee a safe and painless outcome. It is a noble but utterly impossible task. It is like trying to command the tides, or attempting to build a permanent, solid house on the surface of a flowing river. The river will always win. The effort to control the uncontrollable, to nail down the inherently fluid nature of life, is the very source of the tension that ties our bodies in knots and sets our minds racing in the dark. It is an exhausting, unwinnable war against the fundamental nature of reality. Here, it is essential to distinguish between the skillful tool of planning and the toxic habit of worrying. The two can feel similar, but they are worlds apart. Planning is a finite, focused, and productive activity. It is best done in the daylight, with a clear head. You sit down, you assess a situation, you consider your options, you make a decision, and you formulate a series of steps. Planning has an endpoint. You make a list for the grocery store, you go to the store, you buy the food. The plan is complete. It is a conscious use of our intelligent mind to navigate the world. Worrying, especially the kind that visits us at night, is its distorted shadow. It is infinite, circular, and completely unproductive. It is the broken record of fear. It takes a single problem and plays the same worst-case scenarios over and over again without ever moving toward a solution. It is not trying to solve a problem. It is simply trying to feel the fear of the problem again and again. Planning is the architect drawing the blueprint. Worrying is the ghost haunting the construction site, wailing about all the ways the building might collapse. Recognizing when you have crossed the line from one to the other is a crucial skill. If you are going in circles, if no new insights are arising, if you are simply agitating your own fear, you are no longer planning. You are worrying. The true path to peace is therefore not to become better at controlling the future, but to become better at accepting its uncertainty. It is to learn how to befriend the great not knowing. This is not an act of passivity or resignation. It is an act of profound wisdom and courage. It is like a sailor who knows she cannot control the wind and so stops wasting her energy trying. Instead, she becomes an expert at observing the wind and feeling its shifts, and at skillfully adjusting her sails to navigate a course through whatever comes. When we accept uncertainty, we stop fighting with life. We do what we can in the present moment. We prepare, we act with integrity, we make the wisest choices available to us, and then we let go of the outcome. We cultivate a quiet trust in our own ability to meet the future when it arrives, whatever it may bring. Peace is not found in having a perfect map of the road ahead. Peace is found in trusting our ability to walk the road, one step at a time, even when we cannot see around the next bend. To help us break the spell of nighttime worry, there is a simple, powerful question we can ask ourselves. When you find yourself caught in a loop, spinning a tale of future catastrophe, gently pause, take a breath, and ask your mind this one liberating question. Can this problem be solved by me, right now, at 3 o'clock in the morning, while lying here in my bed? Be honest. Listen for the answer. Almost without exception, the answer that will echo back from the quiet depths of your own wisdom will be a simple, resounding number. No, you cannot write that important email right now. No, you cannot have that difficult conversation right now. No, you cannot know the results of the medical test right now. The question reveals the absolute futility of the mental activity. It exposes the worrying for what it is, a completely useless expenditure of your precious life energy. Hearing that no is like being given a key. It is the permission you need to consciously set the worry aside, perhaps placing it in your imaginary worry journal to gently guide your attention back to the simple, tangible reality of your breath or the feeling of the blankets on your skin. There is an old story of a farmer who worked hard all year and was blessed with a magnificent harvest, more bountiful than he had ever seen. That night, as he lay in bed, he could not sleep. He thought, "My barns are too small. Where will I ever store all of this grain?" He tossed and turned all night, his mind consumed with designing bigger, better barns. The next night, he finally had a design, but a new worry arose. "If I build these new barns," he thought, "the rats and mice will surely get in and eat all my precious grain." He spent the entire night in a state of agitation, designing elaborate, rat-proof traps in his mind. The following night, feeling he had solved the rat problem, another thought crept in. But what if I succeed in building the barns and protecting the grain, and then the price of grain on the market collapses? I will be ruined. He worried so much about the barns, the rats, and the markets that he made himself sick with anxiety. He was never able to enjoy the simple, beautiful reality of the magnificent harvest that was waiting for him right there in his fields. He was a rich man in the present, who chose to live as a pauper in an imaginary future. We are all this farmer. We are blessed with the treasure of this present moment, but we sacrifice its peace for fantasies of future disasters. We have now seen how the mind binds us to the ghosts of the past and the phantoms of the future. The practice of emptying the bowl is the practice of gently unhooking ourselves from this mental time travel. It is a return to the only place where life is truly happening, the only place we can ever find peace, connection, or joy. And where is this place? This here and now, most tangible, most real, most available to our direct experience. It is not in a concept or an idea, it is in the feeling of being alive in our own skin. It is in the vessel that carries us through this life. It is in the body. We have journeyed through the mind's favorite territories, the haunted ruins of the past and the misty imagined valleys of the future. The practice so far has been to gently unhook our awareness from these phantom worlds and guide it home, back to the only time that is ever real, the present moment. And what is the most tangible, undeniable, and faithful anchor to the present moment? It is the body. The body does not live in yesterday or tomorrow. It lives and breathes and feels right here, right now. It is the physical manuscript of our emotional life. Every worry we have ever had, every resentment we have ever harbored, has written its signature somewhere in our musculature. A clenched jaw, shoulders pulled tight towards the ears, a shallow breath, a knot in the stomach. These are the physical expressions of our mental turmoil. And so, to truly empty the bowl, we must not only quiet the mind, but also learn to release the echoes of its turmoil that have become trapped in the body. The practice for this is a profound act of homecoming, a gentle and systematic journey called the body scan. It is a simple truth that you cannot release a tension that you are not aware of. We walk through our days and lie through our nights, carrying so much chronic, low-level tension that we have come to accept it as normal. It has become the silent, invisible backdrop to our lives. The first purpose of the body scan is simply to shine the gentle, non-judgmental light of your awareness into these forgotten corners of yourself. It is an act of mapping your own inner landscape, not with the goal of immediately fixing anything, but simply with the intention to feel, to know, to become reacquainted with your own physical self. Think of it as visiting a dear friend you haven't seen in years and listening with patient, loving attention to their story. Your body is that friend. It has been waiting patiently for you to listen. Let us begin this journey together. As you lie there in your sanctuary, allow your attention to first settle on the simple fact of your body resting on the bed. Feel the points of contact, the weight of your head on the pillow, the pressure on your shoulders and hips, the heaviness of your heels. There is nothing to do, nothing to achieve. You are simply arriving in your own skin. Now, bring your attention, as if it were a soft, warm spotlight, all the way down to your feet. Gently guide it to the toes of your left foot. You are not trying to think about your toes. You are making a subtle shift to feel them directly. Can you feel any sensation there? Perhaps a warmth, a coolness, a tingling, a sense of pulsation or aliveness? Perhaps you feel the contact of one toe against another, or perhaps you feel nothing at all. That is perfectly fine. The absence of sensation is also a sensation. Just rest your awareness there, in the space where your toes exist, with a gentle, open curiosity. Now, slowly, allow that spotlight of awareness to expand, to include the sole of your left foot, the heel, and the top of the foot. Again, just notice what is here to be felt: pressure, softness, warmth. Then, let the awareness travel gently up into your ankle, your shin and calf muscle, your knee. In each place, you simply pause, you feel, and you receive whatever sensations are present without needing them to be different. Now, let your awareness fill your entire left thigh, from the knee up to the hip. Feel the weight and solidity of this large muscle. And now, for a moment, be aware of your entire left leg, from the tips of your toes to the top of your thigh, feeling it tingling with a subtle aliveness. Then, you gently release your attention from the left leg and begin the journey again on the other side. You bring that soft, warm spotlight of awareness all the way down to the toes of your right foot. You feel them. You travel up through the sole, the heel, the ankle, the lower leg, the knee, and the right thigh. You are in no rush. This is a journey of discovery, not a race. You are patiently, lovingly, re-inhabiting your own body, one small territory at a time. Now feel the entire right leg, alive with sensation. Your attention now moves into the core of your body. Feel your hips, your pelvis, the seat of so much stability and strength. Let your awareness travel up into your lower back, an area where so many of us hold tension. As you breathe in, you can imagine the breath flowing into that area, creating space. As you breathe out, you can imagine a softening, a gentle release. Journey up through your abdomen, noticing the gentle rise and fall with each breath. Move into your chest, feeling the rhythmic, faithful beating of your heart. Travel up your spine, vertebra by vertebra, all the way to your shoulders. This is another great storehouse of tension. Just let your awareness rest on your shoulders. Feel their weight, their shape. As you breathe in, imagine creating softness around any tightness you find. As you breathe out, imagine letting that tightness melt away, like ice in the warm sun. Let your awareness flow down both of your arms simultaneously, through the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, and into your hands. Rest your attention in your hands. Feel your palms, the back of your hands, each finger and thumb. Your hands are such incredible instruments. For now, just let them be and feel the life that is pulsing within them. Now, bring your awareness to your neck and finally up into your face. This is a landscape of tiny, expressive muscles that so often hold our emotions. Soften the muscles of your jaw. Let your tongue rest gently in your mouth. Allow the tiny muscles around your eyes to relax. And finally, feel the broad, smooth expanse of your forehead and invite it to become completely soft and at ease. For a few moments, just rest here, feeling your entire body as one unified field of sensation, gently breathing, fully alive. There is a beautiful analogy for this practice. Think of a master musician preparing for a concert. She does not simply grab her instrumenta sitar, a cello, a violin, and begin to play. Her first act is to listen. She plucks each string, one by one, tuning it with exquisite care. She knows that a string that is too tight will produce a shrill, jarring sound and is in danger of snapping under the pressure. She knows that a string that is too loose will produce a dull, lifeless thud, incapable of true expression. The art of the musician is to find the perfect middle way for each string, that precise balance of tension and relaxation that will allow it to sing with a clear, resonant, and beautiful voice. Your body is your instrument. It is the instrument through which the music of your life is played. The body scan is your way of learning to tune your own strings. As you scan, you listen. You find the areas of tightness, the shoulders, the jaw, the stomach that are like strings, stretched too taut. You find the areas of numbness or collapse that are too slack. The practice is to gently tune your own instrument, not with force, but with gentle awareness and the soft, accepting breath. You are not trying to achieve a perfect state, but are simply creating the conditions for harmony. Having come home to the body, having grounded ourselves in the felt reality of the present moment, we now have a stable foundation from which to observe the mind. From this place of physical peace, we can look up at the inner sky with even greater clarity and wisdom. The storms of thought may still arise, but we are no longer a flimsy leaf tossed in their winds. We are a deeply rooted tree, aware of the earth beneath us, able to watch the passing clouds with an unshakable calm. What then is the ultimate nature of these thoughts we have been so patiently watching? Let us now look more deeply. We have returned home to the body, our safe and steady ground. From this place of embodied presence, we are now prepared to look upon the activities of the mind not as a victim, but as a gentle and curious scientist. We have practiced watching the thoughts, labeling them, and letting them go. Now, we take a step deeper. We move from managing our thoughts to investigating their very nature. For in a true understanding of what a thought is and what it is not, lies the key to a profound and lasting freedom. This is not a mere intellectual exercise. It is a shift in perception that can change everything. The first revolutionary insight we must consider is that we are not the sole author of our thoughts. We live under the illusion that there is a little me inside our head, a chief executive officer who is deliberately thinking every thought. But take a moment to reflect honestly. Did you decide to have your last thought? Or did it simply appear? Where did it come from, and where did it go? More often than not, thoughts arise unbidden. They are conditioned phenomena, sparked into existence by countless causes. A sound from the street might trigger a memory of a childhood home. A pang of hunger might lead to a cascade of thoughts about what to have for breakfast. A word in a book can set off a chain reaction of associations that leads you to a worry about a friend you haven't spoken to in years. Thoughts are much more like mental weather than deliberate, authored creations. They are emergent properties of a mind that is constantly processing a universe of internal and external data. To see this is to begin the process of depersonalizing them. They are not so personal after all. They are more like the sound of the wind or the changing patterns of light on a wall. They just happen. This leads us to an even deeper, more liberating truth, a cornerstone of this ancient wisdom. It is the understanding of the non-self nature of thought. The Pali word for this is anatta. What this means, in the simplest terms, is that our thoughts are not truly ours. We have a powerful, deeply ingrained habit of claiming ownership of them. We plant a flag of I, me, and mine on every mental event. This is my brilliant idea. This is my terrible fear. She hurt my feelings. It is this act of ownership, this mental grasping, that gives thoughts their weight. It is what transforms a fleeting, impersonal flicker of energy in the brain into a heavy, identity-defining burden. The thought itself is light as a feather. It is our clinging to it as mine that makes it feel like a rock. The practice, then, is to experiment with letting go of this ownership. What happens if, instead of thinking, I'm having an anxious thought, you simply observe, an anxious thought is present? Can you feel the space that opens up with that subtle shift? You move from being the subject of the thought to being the witness of it. The thought is no longer a part of your identity, but simply an object passing through your awareness. This is not a denial of experience, but a clearer seeing of it. This is where the metaphor of the sky and the clouds, which we have touched upon before, reveals its full power. Let us rest with it now. Your truest nature, the boundless awareness that is reading these words, is the sky. It is vast, open, limitless, and fundamentally peaceful. It is always present, whether you are aware of it or not. Your thoughts, emotions, and sensations are the clouds. They are temporary passing phenomena that drift through the sky. Some clouds are beautiful, white, and fluffy. These are our thoughts of joy, love, and inspiration. We love to watch these clouds. Other clouds are dark, heavy, and full of thunder and lightning. These are our thoughts of fear, anger, grief, and despair. We dread these clouds and believe they will last forever. But the sky has no preference. The sky does not try to cling to the beautiful clouds or push away the stormy ones. It does not feel personally threatened by a thunderstorm, nor does it feel personally victorious on a sunny day. The sky's nature is to allow. It provides the unconditional, accepting space for all weather to happen. Its vastness is never diminished by the storm, nor is its essence ever stained by the darkest cloud. The storm passes, the clouds dissipate, the sky remains. The practice is to cultivate this sky-like mind. When a dark cloud of a painful thought appears on the horizon, our habit is to shrink, to become as small and as dense as the cloud itself. The invitation here is to do the opposite, to expand your awareness, to become even more vast, more open, more sky-like. When your awareness is bigger than the thought can no longer dominate your reality. It is seen for what it is, a temporary weather pattern passing through the vast, peaceful expanse of who you truly are. When we truly begin to embody this understanding that thoughts are impersonal, ownerless, and transient, what remains? What is left when we stop creating them, stop owning them, and stop identifying with them? What is left is a state of pure observation, a quiet, luminous, knowing presence. This does not necessarily mean a state without thought, but a state of being completely free from the tyranny of thought. Thoughts may still arise, but they are no longer a problem. They are like bird song in the distance. You can hear it, you can acknowledge it, but it doesn't need to capture you and carry you away. You are no longer entangled. This is the liberation that is spoken of. It is not an escape from life, but a total immersion in the reality of the present moment, free from the filter of incessant mental commentary. Imagine a person who goes to the bank of a great, wide river and decides to simply sit and watch. Their only task is to observe the river of life as it flows by. The river carries many things on its current. Sometimes it carries beautiful, fragrant flowers and clean, fresh branches. At other times, it carries murky driftwood, garbage, and unpleasant debris. The river itself is sometimes clear and slow, and at other times it is a muddy, raging torrent. The practice of the person on the bank is not to judge the river. It is not to leap into the water to try and grab the beautiful flowers and hold on to them, because they will soon decay. It is not to jump in and try to frantically push away the ugly debris, because that is an endless and exhausting task, and it is certainly not to try and speed up or slow down the flow of the river itself. The practice is simply to sit, to remain on the stable ground of the bank, and to watch it all go by with a calm and accepting heart. Your mind is this river. Your thoughts are the objects floating upon its surface. Your awareness is the person sitting on the bank. The practice of wisdom is to learn, with great patience, how to simply sit and watch the flow without being swept away by it. This understanding of the impersonal, transient nature of thought changes everything. It leads us to a new attitude, a new quality of mind. What is this quality that allows us to sit by the river so peacefully? It is a quality of balance, of profound composure, of a heart that is open to all of life's experiences without being overthrown by them. This quality has a name. In the language of this wisdom, it is called upekkha. It is the gentle art of non-attachment. We have arrived at a profound understanding. We have seen that thoughts are not our master, but are merely weather patterns passing through the vast sky of our awareness. To know this intellectually is one thing. To truly live it, to embody this freedom in the face of life's inevitable challenges, requires the cultivation of a specific quality of heart and mind. This quality is the pinnacle of this path of wisdom, a state of profound balance, stability, and grace. In the ancient language of this practice, it is called upekkha. It is often translated as equanimity, but it is also understood as composure, non-attachment, and a deep, unshakable balance of mind. It is essential, from the very beginning, to understand what equanimity is not. Hearing words like non-attachment or balance, the mind can easily leap to a cold and distant conclusion. It can imagine a state of gray indifference, of passionless apathy, of a heart that no longer cares about anything. This is the absolute opposite of upekkha. Indifference is a state of shutting down, of building a wall around the heart to protect it from pain. It is a posture of fear, a refusal to feel. Equanimity, or upekkha, is the fruit of radical openness. It is not about feeling less. It is about developing the capacity to feel everything more fully without being swept away. It is the strength of a heart that is so open, so vast, and so compassionate that it is no longer overthrown by the comings and goings of pleasure and pain. Imagine the ocean. On its surface, there can be great turmoil waves crashing, storms raging, but in its depths, there is a profound stillness, a quiet that is unmoved by the surface drama. Indifference is like freezing the surface of the ocean. Equanimity is learning to access the profound stillness of its depths. The human mind, in its untrained state, operates on two primary reactive principles: craving and aversion. When we experience something pleasant, a delicious taste, a word of praise, a feeling of comfort, the mind's immediate reflex is to grasp. It says, I like this. I want more of this. I want this to last forever. This is craving. It is a tightening, a clinging, that is itself a subtle form of suffering because it is based on the fear of losing the pleasant experience. On the other hand, when we experience something unpleasant physical pain, a critical comment, a feeling of anxiety, the mind's reflex is to push away. It says, I don't like this. Get it away from me. I want this to stop. This is aversion. It is a resistance, a fighting against reality that creates its own layer of tension and pain. Our entire life can be seen as a dance, a constant oscillation between craving for the pleasant and aversion to the unpleasant. Upekkha is the discovery of a third way. It is the middle path that walks gracefully between the frantic poles of grasping and resisting. It is the wisdom that understands that both pleasant and unpleasant experiences are, by their very nature, impermanent. They are like the clouds in the sky, the objects floating on the river. They arise, they exist for a time, and they pass away. With equanimity, we can learn to experience pleasure without clinging to it desperately, allowing us to enjoy it more purely. And we can learn to experience pain without hating it and resisting it, which allows it to flow through us with much less friction and secondary suffering. Equanimity is the quality of the empty bowl we have spoken of. The bowl does not rejoice when it is filled with sweet nectar, nor does it despair when it is filled with bitter medicine. It simply receives, holds, and lets go. It is this unwavering balance that defines its nature. Ultimately, equanimity is the practice of meeting reality on its own terms. It is the end of our lifelong argument with what is. So much of our mental anguish comes from the gap between the way things are and the way we demand they should be. It shouldn't be raining today. He shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't be feeling this anxiety. Each one of these thoughts is a declaration of war against reality, a war we can never win. Equanimity is the laying down of our arms. It is a profound, wholehearted yes to the texture of this present moment, whatever it may contain. It does not mean we become passive. It does not mean we approve of injustice or harm. Rather, it means we first accept the reality of the situation as it is, for only then can we respond with clarity and wisdom instead of reacting with blind, emotional force. Let us bring this directly to the experience of trying to sleep. The craving for sleep becomes a torment. I need to fall asleep. I have to. My whole day tomorrow will be ruined if I don't. This desperate wanting creates a frantic, anxious energy that is the very opposite of the state required for sleep. At the same time, the aversion to being awake is its own form of torture. I hate this feeling. I can't stand being awake like this. This is terrible. This resistance, this fighting against the state of wakefulness, floods the body with stress hormones and makes rest impossible. The path of equanimity is to gently release both the craving and the aversion. It is to lie in your bed and make peace with the present reality. Okay, at this moment the body is awake, the mind is active. I will not fight it. I will not demand that it be different. My only job is to rest peacefully in this wakefulness. The paradox is that this unconditional surrender, this cessation of the inner war, is often the very thing that allows the nervous system to calm down, creating the perfect, open, and welcoming space for sleep to naturally arrive. Think of a great ancient mountain. It has stood for eons, its peak reaching into the sky, its base rooted deep in the earth. The mountain experiences every kind of weather. The gentle breezes of spring caress its slopes. The hot, direct sun of summer beats down upon it. The fierce gales of autumn howl around its cliffs. The heavy snows of winter cover it in a deep blanket of white. The mountain does not grow attached to the pleasant sun, nor does it try to push away the winter storm. It does not tremble in the wind or complain in the rain. It simply stands, solid, majestic, and completely present, allowing the endless drama of the weather to unfold upon it. The mountain is intimately connected to the weather, yet its deep, rocky essence remains fundamentally unchanged. To cultivate equanimity is to become this mountain. It is to develop a mind that is so stable, so grounded in the truth of the present moment, that it is no longer overthrown by the passing weather of life, the joys and sorrows, the praise and blame, the success and failure. You allow it all to come, and you allow it all to go. You learn to rest in your own unshakable, mountainous nature. We have learned to empty the bowl, and we have learned the wisdom of letting the bowl rest in this state of balanced readiness. But this path, is not only one of emptying and accepting, it is also one of active cultivation. What happens now if into this clean, empty, and balanced bowl we were to consciously and intentionally pour a powerful antidote to all fear, anxiety, and ill will? What if we were to fill it with the warmth of loving kindness? We have learned to empty the bowl of the mind, clearing it of the clutter of past and future. We have learned to sit with a balanced and steady heart, an equanimity that allows the storms of life to pass without uprooting us. This creates a spaciousness, a clean and quiet stillness within. Now we arrive at a practice that does not simply clear the space, but actively cultivates a beautiful garden within it. This is a generative practice, a way of intentionally filling our bowl not with the random debris of the world, but with a quality of warmth so profound it can melt the coldest of fears. This is the practice of metta, a word from the ancient Pali language that translates as loving kindness. It is an unconditional, gentle, and boundless friendliness offered to ourselves and to all of life. Metta is not a sentimental emotion that we must passively wait to feel. It is not the same as the conditional affection we have for those who please us, nor is it the exclusive love we reserve for a partner or a child. Metta is a skill, a conscious intention of goodwill that can be developed and strengthened through practice, just like learning to play a musical instrument. It is the sincere, heartfelt wish for well-being. At times when we feel anxious, irritated, or shut down, trying to feel loving can seem impossible. That is why this practice is so skillful. It does not ask you to fabricate an emotion. It simply asks you to plant the seed of intention. You gently repeat certain phrases of well-wishing, and in doing so, you create the causes and conditions for a genuine feeling of warmth to eventually arise. It is a practice of nurturing the soil of the heart so that kindness can naturally grow. Crucially, this practice always begins with ourselves. In our culture, this can feel selfish or narcissistic. We are often taught that we should always put others first. But this wisdom understands a simple, practical truth. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. To genuinely offer water to another, your own cup must first have some water in it. The instruction on an airplane is not to help your child with their oxygen mask first, but to secure your own. Only then will you be able to help anyone else. Wishing well for ourselves is the act of filling our own cup. It is the necessary foundation for all true compassion and generosity. It is the antidote to the harsh inner critic that so often whispers its poison in the dark. So, as you rest here, you can begin this gentle offering. Bring your awareness to your own heart and silently, softly, repeat these phrases, timing them with your breath if you wish. May I be safe. May I be free from inner and outer harm. May I be healthy. May my body be strong and support me. May I be happy. May my heart know the joy of true peace. May I live with ease. May I move through the world with grace and without struggle. As you repeat these phrases, do not worry if you feel them or not. Do not be concerned if they feel awkward or if a part of your mind resists them. Your only job is to make the offering. You are planting the seeds. The warmth will come in its own time. Just continue to offer this gentle rain of well-wishing upon the soil of your own heart. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. When you feel ready, you can allow this warmth to expand. Bring to mind a person for whom you feel easy and uncomplicated love. It could be a dear friend, a beloved family member, a mentor, or even a pet. Picture them in your mind's eye. See them happy and well. And now, direct the flow of these kind wishes towards them. May you be safe. May you be free from harm. May you be healthy. May you be strong and vital. May you be happy. May your heart be filled with joy. May you live with ease. Feel the natural warmth that flows from your heart as you make this offering to someone you cherish. Next, to stretch the muscle of the heart, we expand the circle to include a neutral person. Bring to mind someone you see in your daily life, but for whom you feel neither like nor dislike. It could be the cashier at the grocery store, the mail carrier, a person you see on your daily commute. You know very little about them, except that they are a human being, just like you, with their own hopes and fears. Now, offer the exact same phrases of loving kindness to this person. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. This is a powerful step. It trains the heart to be kind without needing a reason, to be benevolent simply because it is its nature to be so. The practice deepens even further when we have the courage to turn, however briefly, towards a difficult person. Bring to mind someone with whom you have friction or conflict. The invitation here is not to condone their harmful actions or to force yourself into a false forgiveness. The invitation is simply to recognize, on a human level, that their actions likely arise from their own deep suffering, their own confusion and pain. And from that recognition, you can try, as an experiment, to offer them a simple wish for release from that suffering. Just as I wish to be free from my suffering, may you also be free from yours. If this feels too difficult or inauthentic, that is perfectly okay. Simply return your attention to yourself or to your loved one. The practice must always be gentle and honest. Finally, you let the circle become boundless. You imagine this warm golden light of loving kindness radiating out from your heart in all directions, front, back, left, right, above, and below. You offer it to all beings, without exception. To your neighbors, to people in your city, in your country, and across the world. To all animals, to all creatures, living in the water, in the sky, and on the earth. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings live with ease. You rest in this state of boundless, benevolent goodwill. A powerful story illustrates the force of metta. The Buddha's jealous cousin, Devadatta, conspired to have him killed. He arranged for the fierce royal elephant, Nalagiri, to be intoxicated with alcohol and then released onto the narrow lane where the Buddha was walking. The elephant, enraged and trumpeting, charged down the street, and people scattered in terror. The Buddha's loyal attendant, Ananda, bravely stepped in front of him to protect him, but the Buddha gently moved him aside and faced the charging elephant alone. He did not run, nor did he show any fear. He simply stood his ground and radiated a powerful, silent wave of pure, met-off, unconditional loving kindness directly at the enraged animal. As the elephant entered this field of gentle energy, a remarkable transformation occurred. Its pace slowed. Its trunk, which had been raised in aggression, lowered. Its eyes, which had been red with fury, softened. It walked calmly up to the Buddha and knelt before him, allowing the Buddha to gently stroke its head. The raging elephant is our own inner turmoil. It is our anger, our self-hatred, our terror, our anxiety. We cannot defeat these powerful energies with force or by trying to run from them. They can only be tamed by the fearless, gentle, and unwavering power of metta. This warmth, this loving kindness becomes an essential resource for our journey, a healing balm we can apply at any time. It is a resource we will need because even on this path of peace, we will still encounter difficulty. We will still feel pain in the body and distress in the mind. How then do we meet these inevitable discomforts when they arise? We have filled our bowl with the warmth of loving kindness, creating a soft, compassionate space within. This kindness is not a shield that prevents all difficulty, but rather a gentle container that allows us to hold our difficulties with grace, because the truth of this human life is that discomfort is inevitable. As you lie in your bed, you may feel a pain in your back, a churning in your stomach, or a wave of sadness or anxiety may wash over you for no apparent reason. Our instinct, forged over a lifetime, is to recoil, to tense up, to declare this experience an enemy, and immediately go to war with it. This path offers a different way, a wisdom that allows us to meet pain not with resistance, but with a profound and calming insight. This is the wisdom of Anicca, the universal law of impermanence. Anicca is the simple, observable truth that everything changes. Nothing is permanent, nothing is fixed. The great mountains are slowly being ground down by wind and rain. The stars in the sky are being born and are dying over eons. Your own body is in a constant state of fluxes, are dying and being replaced. The food you ate is becoming energy. The air you are breathing is sustaining you moment by moment. Everything, from the galactic to the microscopic, is in a state of flow. This same law applies with equal force to our inner world. A feeling of joy arises. It shines for a while, and then it fades. A surge of anger flashes through the mind, and it too subsides. A thought appears, and it dissolves. And so it is with pain and discomfort. The sensation of pain you are feeling right now is not a permanent fixture of your reality. It is not a solid, unchanging entity. It is a temporary event, a passing weather pattern in the body and mind, subject to the same universal law of change as everything else in the universe. The practice, then, is to use your awareness to verify this truth for yourself. When you feel an unpleasant sensation, let's say, a tightness in your shoulder, the untrained mind, labels it shoulder pain, and experiences it as a single, solid, negative block of reality. The mindful approach is to investigate it with the curiosity of a scientist. Instead of pulling away from the sensation, you gently move your awareness toward it. You deconstruct it. Is it really one solid thing? Or is it a collection of smaller, shifting sensations? Is it a sharp, stabbing feeling? Or a dull, heavy ache? Is there heat? Is there coolness? Does it tingle? Does it vibrate or pulse? As you watch it closely, moment by moment, you begin to notice that it is not static at all. It subtly shifts and changes. It may intensify for a moment, then fade. It may move slightly. It may transform from a sharp feeling to a numb one. You begin to see it not as a solid block of ice, but as a wave in the ocean. It arises, it swells to a peak, and it inevitably begins to subside. This direct seeing of the fluid, impermanent nature of the sensation is profoundly liberating. You are no longer being tormented by a thing, but are simply witnessing a dynamic, changing process. The reason this insight is so powerful is that it frees us from the second layer of suffering. The first layer is the raw physical sensation itself, the clean pain. This is unavoidable. But most of our actual suffering comes from the second layer, which is our mental reaction to the pain. It is the thought, this is awful. I can't stand this. What if it never goes away? This mental resistance, this fear and hatred directed at the sensation, is what adds immense tension and anguish to the experience. It is like being hit by an arrow, and then, in our panic, shooting ourselves with a second arrow. The wisdom of impermanence helps us to not shoot the second arrow. When you know, from your own direct observation, that the pain is a changing process, that the wave will eventually pass, the fear that it will last forever begins to dissolve. Without the fuel of that fear, the mental resistance softens. You can learn to breathe with the sensation, to stay present with it, to allow it to be there without the added, exhausting burden of fighting against it. This doesn't necessarily make the raw sensation vanish instantly, but it dramatically reduces your suffering around it. In moments of intense difficulty, whether it is physical pain or emotional distress, you can offer yourself a simple, powerful reminder of this truth. You can repeat it silently to yourself, like a soothing mantra. This too shall pass. This is not a form of wishful thinking. It is one of the most profound and accurate statements about the nature of reality. It is a reminder to your frightened mind that the current state is not permanent. The storm will pass, the wave will recede, the pain will shift, the sadness will transform. These 4 simple words can be a raft in a turbulent sea, a gentle whisper of truth that helps you endure what feels unbearable, by reminding you that no condition, no matter how intense, lasts forever. There's a timeless story of a great and powerful king who was prone to extreme emotional swings. In times of victory, he would become lost in euphoric celebration, and in times of defeat, he would be plunged into the depths of inconsolable despair. Weary of this inner turmoil, he summoned the wisest sages in his kingdom. I want you to create for me a magic ring, he commanded. It must contain a message that has the power to bring me back to sobriety when I am lost in joy, and to give me hope when I am drowning in sorrow. The sages consulted for many weeks, and finally returned to the king with a simple gold ring. The king took it and looked closely at the inscription they had etched into it. The message contained just 4 words. This too shall pass. The king understood instantly. When he was celebrating a great victory, a glance at the ring would remind him of the fleeting nature of glory, fostering humility and presence. And when he was crushed by a great loss, the ring would remind him that his sorrow was not a permanent state, fostering resilience and hope. We are all this king. We ride the roller coaster of life's changing circumstances, and our minds are easily thrown into elation or despair. The wisdom of impermanence is our magic ring. It is not a pessimistic or cynical teaching, but a deeply realistic and compassionate one. It allows us to meet the full spectrum of human experience with greater balance, courage, and a soft, open heart. As we become more comfortable resting in this flow, our awareness becomes more subtle and refined. We begin to notice not just the obvious events like thoughts and pains, but the very fabric of the mind itself. We start to hear not just the sounds, but the silence from which they emerge. We start to see not just the clouds, but the spaces between them. We have journeyed far, learning to meet our experience with a heart of kindness and a mind that understands the ever-changing flow of life. Our awareness has grown more stable, more refined. We have moved from observing the large, dramatic weather patterns of the mind to feeling the subtle currents of the body. Now, we are invited to take another step, a step into an even more subtle and profound dimension of our being. The practice now shifts from observing the objects in our awareness, the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, to becoming aware of the very space in which these objects arise. We are learning to notice not just the furniture in the room, but the room itself. For it is in this background of silent, spacious awareness that true peace is not just found, but is revealed as our fundamental nature. The gateway to this inner silence is through outer silence. As you lie in your sanctuary, let your sense of hearing be your guide. For a few moments, simply open your awareness to the full soundscape of your environment. Do not seek out sounds, but simply allow them to come to you. Let your ears become like wide, sensitive satellite dishes, receiving all the signals of the night without judgment. Perhaps you hear the low hum of a refrigerator, the distant rumble of traffic, the sighing of the wind, or the creak of your own house settling. You might hear the sound of your own breathing, or the soft beat of your own heart. The practice is to resist the mind's habit of labeling and judging. Instead of thinking, "That's an annoying car horn," or "I wish that dog would stop barking," simply receive the raw data of the sound. Receive the pitch, the volume, the texture, the rhythm. Treat the entire collection of sounds as a kind of symphony, the unique music of this present moment. You are not the conductor, trying to control the orchestra. You are simply a listener, seated in the best seat in the hall, taking it all in. After resting in this open awareness of sound for a while, you can begin the next, more subtle stage of the practice. Begin to listen for the silence behind the sounds. This may seem strange at first, but it is a powerful shift in perception. Realize that every sound you hear is born out of silence, and every sound dissolves back into silence. The silence is the vast, dark canvas upon which the brief, bright flashes of sound are painted. Can you become aware of that canvas? Can you sense the profound stillness that is holding all the noise? It is like being at the cinema. We are usually completely captivated by the movie, by the story, and the characters on the screen. But can we become aware of the screen itself, the vast, white, silent space that makes the entire movie possible? In the same way, can you listen through the sounds to the foundational silence that is always here? Even in the midst of a city's noise, there is an underlying quiet. Attuning your ear to this ever-present stillness is a way of finding peace even when the world around you is not peaceful. Now, we turn this practice inward. We apply this same refined listening to the landscape of the mind itself. We have been watching the stream of our thoughts. We have seen them as clouds, as fish in a pond, as objects on a river. Now, we are going to listen for the silence between them. The stream of consciousness is not as solid and continuous as it appears. Between one thought and the next, there is a gap, a tiny pause, a moment of pure, thought-free awareness. These gaps are usually so brief that we miss them entirely, as our attention leaps immediately from the end of one thought to the beginning of the next. The practice is to intentionally shift your attention. Instead of being interested in the thoughts themselves, become intensely interested in the space between the thoughts. Imagine you are watching a train pass by. Your habit is to focus on the carriages, their color, their shape, what's inside them. The practice now is to start noticing the empty space, the gap between one carriage and the next. You are not trying to force the gaps to be longer or to stop the train. You are just patiently, vigilantly watching for them. As you rest your awareness, a thought will arise. You notice it, and then it will end. In that microsecond before the next thought begins, there is a silent space. Can you notice it? Can you rest in it, even for a fraction of a second? At first, this might seem impossible. The mind may even seem to become more active because you are paying such close attention. This is normal. But with gentle persistence, you will begin to notice them, tiny pockets of peace. Brief moments of pure, silent being. This space, this silence between two thoughts, is the goal of our entire journey. It is the direct experience of the empty bowl. It is the sky, clear of all clouds. It is the clean room, free of all clutter. When you rest in that gap, you are resting in your true nature. There is no anxiety in that gap. There is no regret. There is no story of me. There is only a clear, peaceful, knowing presence. The liberation we seek is not in getting rid of the thoughts, but in discovering that our true home is in the silence that holds the thoughts. When you know your home is the silent, spacious train platform, You are no longer so disturbed by the noisy train that passes through. The train can be loud, it can be chaotic, but it cannot touch you. You are safe at home on the platform of silent awareness. The most beautiful music is not just a collection of notes. It is a masterful interplay of sound and silence. The pauses between the notes, the rests that are written into the score, are what give the music its rhythm, its emotion, its power, its meaning. A great composer, a great musician, is a master of silence. Without those silent gaps, the most beautiful melody in the world would degrade into an unbearable wall of noise. Life is the same. Our thoughts, our experiences, our actions, these are the notes. But it is the silent, aware space between them that gives our life its depth, its clarity, its grace, its peace. A life lived only in the noise of the notes, with no appreciation for the silence that holds them, is a frantic, anxious, and ultimately unmusical existence. The practice of listening to the silence is the practice of becoming a true musician of your own life. You are learning to cherish the pauses, to rest in the spaces, and to discover the profound beauty that is only born when sound and silence dance together. As we become more comfortable resting in this subtle, silent awareness, our relationship with consciousness itself begins to change. This new relationship does not end when our thinking mind finally gives way to sleep. In fact, it can open a doorway into the mysterious world that follows, the world of dreams. Here is the detailed script for Part 2.14, written in English and adhering to all the specified requirements. As we learn to rest in the silent, spacious awareness between our thoughts, our relationship with consciousness itself undergoes a profound shift. We begin to see that it is more fluid, more mysterious than we ever imagined. This new relationship does not simply end when we finally surrender to sleep. In fact, it can be the very key that unlocks the door to one of the most enigmatic and potent territories of the human mind, the world of dreams. For millennia, we have been fascinated by this nightly theater, seeing it as a source of prophecy, a wellspring of creativity, or merely as the random, nonsensical firings of a resting brain. The wisdom of this path suggests something different, that the dream world is not a separate reality, but a direct continuation and reflection of the consciousness we cultivate during our waking hours. Think of your mind as a garden. All day long, you are planting seeds. If you spend your day planting the seeds of anxiety, rushing, and distraction, it is no surprise that the garden of your night will be overgrown with chaotic, stressful, and thorny dreams. If, however, you consciously spend your day planting the seeds of mindfulness, compassion, and tranquility, the soil of your mind is enriched. And from this rich soil, the dreams that sprout during the night are more likely to be clear, spacious, and even insightful. The work we do before we sleep, emptying the bowl, calming the body, and setting an intention of peace is not just about falling asleep. It is about preparing the ground for the journey that consciousness takes during the night. The quality of your night is a direct mirror of the quality of your day. As our daytime mindfulness becomes more consistent and stable, a remarkable phenomenon can begin to occur. It is the experience of what is known as lucid dreaming. A lucid dream is simply a dream in which you become aware that you are dreaming. It is a moment of awakening within the dream state itself. A thought arises, "Oh, this is a dream." This moment of lucidity is a direct fruit of the practice of mindfulness. The muscle of awareness which you have been so diligently training during the day by asking, "Am I aware right now? What is happening in this moment?" can suddenly and spontaneously flex in the middle of the night. This is not a goal to be aggressively pursued, as that striving can itself create tension. Rather, it is a beautiful potential, a flower that may bloom as your practice deepens. When lucidity arises, the dream is no longer something that is just happening to you. It becomes a vast, explorable landscape for the aware mind, a safe and boundless laboratory in which to meet your deepest fears and desires with wisdom. Whether you experience lucidity or not, your dreams offer a rich, symbolic language from the deeper parts of your psyche. The wisdom tradition encourages us to approach our dreams not like a technician decoding a message, but like a poet reading a poem. A typical modern approach might be to consult a dream dictionary. To dream of a snake means betrayal. The mindful approach is far more personal and insightful. It asks, what was my relationship with the snake in the dream? Did I feel fear, curiosity, affection? Was I the snake? The symbols in our dreams are not universal archetypes with fixed meanings. They are intimate expressions of our own inner world. The dream is a mirror showing us our hidden attachments and aversions. A recurring dream of being unprepared for an exam may not be about school at all, but may be pointing to a deep-seated fear of being judged or found inadequate in our waking life. By bringing the same gentle, non-judgmental curiosity to our dream memories that we bring to our waking thoughts, we can learn a great deal about the hidden patterns that are running our lives. This mindful approach to dreams opens up the possibility for profound healing, especially when we combine it with the practice of loving kindness. Many of us are plagued by nightmares, by dreams of being chased, attacked, or trapped by terrifying figures. The habitual reaction is, quite naturally, to feel terror and to run. But if a moment of lucidity arises, or even if we set a strong intention before sleep, we can practice a radically different response. We can stop running. We can turn around and face the monster. We can look upon the terrifying figure, which we now understand to be a projection of our own mind, a manifestation of our own fear or anger, and we can offer it metta. We can look at the monster and say, "I see your suffering. May you be peaceful. May you be free from your pain." This act of turning towards our fear with a heart of compassion is one of the most powerful transformative actions we can take. Often, in the logic of the dream world, this offering of kindness will cause the monster to change, to shrink, or even to reveal itself as something we can help and befriend. It is the ultimate practice of taming our own inner demons, not by fighting them, but by meeting them with love. There is a timeless story from the Taoist philosopher, Zhuangzi, that perfectly captures the fluid, wondrous nature of consciousness that our dreams reveal. One night, Zhuangzi dreamt that he was a butterfly. He was a beautiful, vibrant butterfly, flitting from blossom to blossom, sipping nectar, feeling the sun on his wings. He was ecstatically happy, completely and utterly a butterfly, with no awareness whatsoever of being a man named Zhuangzi. Then he awoke, and there he was, lying in his bed, solid, real, unmistakably Zhuangzi. But this experience left him with a profound and unanswerable question. He asked his students, "Now I do not know. Am I Zhuangzi who has just dreamed that he was a butterfly? Or am I now a butterfly who is dreaming that he is Zhuangzi?" This story gently dissolves the hard, solid line we like to draw between our waking life, which we call real, and our dream life, which we call unreal. Both are simply states of experience unfolding within consciousness. By bringing our awareness and our compassion into the dream world, we are affirming that our practice is not just for one part of our life, but for the whole of it. We are learning to be awake, to be kind, and to be free, no matter what form our consciousness is taking. This deep inner work, this transformation that takes place in the quiet, mysterious hours of the night, does not simply vanish with the morning light. It changes the very texture of how we greet the day. The deep, quiet work we do in the heart of the night, the emptying of the bowl, the journey into dreams, the resting in silent awareness does not simply evaporate when the first light of dawn touches the window. It changes the very ground upon which our waking consciousness lands. The way we begin our day is not a separate activity from the way we rest at night. It is the harvest of the seeds we have sown. Too often, the morning begins with violence. A jarring alarm clock rips us from the depths of sleep. Before our eyes are even fully open, our hand reaches for the glowing screen of a phone, and in an instant, the cares of the world, the demands of others, the anxieties and the outrage come flooding into the pristine, delicate space of our newly awakened mind. We begin the day already in a state of deficit, of reaction, of being behind. We have thrown ourselves from the quiet sanctuary of the night into the frantic chaos of the day with no bridge, no pause, no moment of grace. This path invites us to reclaim the morning, to see the first few moments of wakefulness as a sacred and precious transition. It is the final, gentle chapter of our nightly practice. When you first become aware that you are waking up, resist the conditioned reflex to immediately move, to think, to plan. Instead, grant yourself the gift of a sacred pause. For just a minute or two, remain perfectly still. This is your bridge from the dream world back to the waking one. First, bring your awareness back into your body. Feel the simple, undeniable reality of your physical form. Feel the weight of the blankets upon you, the texture of the sheets against your skin, the solid support of the mattress beneath you. Feel the gentle warmth that has accumulated through the night. You are not thinking about your body. You are simply directly inhabiting it once more. Next, reconnect with your anchor. Find the gentle rhythm of your breath. Notice the soft rise and fall of your abdomen or your chest. You do not need to change it or control it. You are simply reestablishing contact with this faithful, lifelong friend. This simple act of feeling the body and the breath for a few moments before moving creates a buffer. It prevents the psychic shock of an abrupt awakening and allows your consciousness to transition smoothly, to land gently and fully in the present moment before the day's demands begin. Within this sacred pause, we can introduce a second practice, a simple shift in attitude that can change the entire flavor of the day. Our habit is often to wake up and immediately perform a mental audit of our sleep. I only got 6 hours. I tossed and turned all night. This is going to be a terrible day. We begin our day with a story of lack, of complaint, of anticipated suffering. The practice is to replace this habit with the simple, powerful act of gratitude. Before your mind can begin its litany of complaints, offer a silent, heartfelt thank you. Thank you to your body for the rest it received, however imperfect you may judge it to be. Even on a difficult night, the body was lying down, it was resting, it was repairing itself. Even 1 hour of sleep is a gift. Thank you for the warmth of your bed, for the safety of your shelter. Starting the day from a place of gratitude, of acknowledging the simple gifts of life and rest, fundamentally shifts your consciousness from a state of poverty to a state of abundance. You are framing the day not with what is wrong, but with what is right. Now, from this place of grounded, grateful presence, you can set a gentle intention for the day ahead. This is not the same as creating a stressful to-do list. An intention is not about what you will do, but about how you will be. It is the act of setting a compass for your heart. As you lie there in the quiet, you can ask yourself, what quality do I wish to cultivate today? The answer can be very simple. Today, my intention is to practice patience with myself and with others. Today, I will listen more deeply than I speak. Today, I will try to meet moments of stress with a kind heart. Today, I will be more mindful of the beauty in small things. You choose one simple theme, one guiding principle. This intention becomes your North Star for the day. When you inevitably get lost in the busyness, when you feel reactive or overwhelmed, you can remember your intention and it will gently guide you back to the person you truly wish to be. The difference between a morning begun this way and a morning begun in a frantic rush is the difference between a peaceful garden and a raging battlefield. A rushed morning creates a frantic, chaotic energy that we carry with us for hours. We feel like we are constantly running to catch up, that we are victims of the day's events. Our breathing is shallow, our muscles are tense, our mind is scattered. A mindful morning, born from a night of conscious rest, cultivates a sense of calm centeredness. It allows us to enter the day feeling like its conscious author, not its helpless victim. We carry a sense of spaciousness with us, an inner reservoir of peace that makes us more resilient, more creative, and more able to meet the inevitable challenges of the day with grace. A wise gardener knows that their work is not finished when the seeds are planted. The most delicate time is in the cool of the morning, when the first tender sprouts begin to emerge from the soil. The gardener does not rush out and blast these new shoots with a high-pressure hose. They approach with gentle care. They check the moisture of the soil. They provide just enough water. They ensure the sprouts are protected from harsh winds and have access to the morning light. The gardener knows that the care given in these first crucial moments will determine the strength and vitality of the plant for the entire day. You are this gardener, and your consciousness is the garden. The first few moments of the morning are when the tender sprouts of your day emerge. By greeting them with a gentle pause, with a heart of gratitude, and with the light of a clear intention, you are tending to your own being with profound wisdom and care. You are setting the conditions for a day of strength, balance, and peace. This mindful morning is the beautiful, tangible fruit of the practice of emptying the bowl. It is where the peace of the night is woven directly into the fabric of the day. However, for this beautiful cycle to even begin, we must first find rest. And what about those nights when we are so desperate for sleep, so consumed with the desire for it, that our very effort becomes the greatest obstacle of all? We must now turn to one of the most common and painful traps on this path. We have explored a rich landscape of practices designed to bring peace to the body and mind. We have prepared our sanctuary, anchored ourselves in the breath, made peace with the past and future, and opened our hearts with kindness. And yet for many there remains one final, exquisitely frustrating obstacle. It is the night when you do everything right, but sleep still remains distant. a ship on the horizon that will not come to shore. It is in this moment that we can fall into the most subtle and powerful trap of all, the trap of trying. The more you want to sleep, the more you need to sleep, the more you try to sleep, the more vibrantly, stubbornly, and mockingly awake you become. This is the great paradox of rest, and to understand it is to unlock a central secret of the path. Sleep is not an achievement. It is not a goal that can be conquered through willpower and force. It is not a fortress that can be taken by storm. Sleep is an act of surrender. It is a process of letting go. Think of it as a shy, wild creature. If you stare at it directly, if you make sudden movements, if you try to lunge and grab it, it will vanish into the forest in a heartbeat. This gentle creature will only draw near when you are still, when you are quiet, and when you are pretending not to care about its presence. It is drawn to tranquility, not to striving, or think of it as a trust fall. To fall asleep is to allow yourself to fall backward into the darkness, into the great unknown of unconsciousness, trusting that you will be caught. The act of trying is the act of tensing every muscle in your body, refusing to fall, desperately trying to stay in control. Sleep, by its very definition, is the complete and total relinquishing of control. There is a deep physiological reason why this is so, the act of striving and the frustration that inevitably accompanies it. Why isn't this working? I am so bad at this. Activates the body's sympathetic nervous system. This is our ancient, hardwired fight-or-flight response. When this system is engaged, your body is flooded with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes more shallow, and your mind becomes sharp and vigilant. These are the hormones of alertness, designed by nature to help you fight off a predator or run from a fire. Your body, in its wisdom, is preparing you for action. But this is the precise biochemical state that is the absolute opposite of what is required for sleep, which depends on the dominance of the parasympathetic nervous system, the state of rest and digest. By struggling for sleep, you are, in effect, flooring the accelerator of your car while screaming at it to stop. You are creating the very neurochemical conditions that make sleep impossible. The only way to escape this trap is to change the game entirely. If the goal, I must fall asleep, is itself the source of the problem, then we must choose a new goal. This is a conscious, deliberate, and compassionate shift in your intention for the night. The new goal is no longer to sleep. The new goal is simply to rest. That is all. You release all expectations of falling asleep. You let go of the entire agenda. Your only job for the rest of the night is to lie peacefully and rest your body and mind as best you can. What does this mean in practice? It means you return to your tools. You rest in the awareness of your breath, feeling it flow in and out. You do a gentle body scan, inviting each part of your body to soften and release. You listen to the sounds in the room with open awareness. You recognize that this state of quiet, mindful wakefulness is in itself profoundly healing and restorative. Your body is resting. Your mind is resting. You are no longer at war with yourself. By shifting the goal from a result you cannot control, sleep, to a process you can engage in, resting, you remove the pressure, the anxiety, and the sense of failure. A night of no sleep is no longer a bad night. It becomes a night of deep and quiet practice. This leads to the deepest level of this practice, the cultivation of a radical acceptance of whatever is present. It is the full embodiment of the equanimity we have spoken of. It is the willingness to make peace with reality, right as it is, without needing it to be different. In the moment you realize you are awake and struggling, you can take a soft breath and make a new agreement with yourself. Okay, the reality of this moment is wakefulness. I accept this. I will not fight it. I will not spend my energy resisting what is already here. I will use this quiet, peaceful time to practice being with myself. This is not an act of defeated resignation. It is an act of empowered surrender. And here lies the most beautiful paradox of all. The moment you truly, deeply, and completely accept being awake, the moment you genuinely let go of your desire to be a sleepus, often the very moment the shy creature of sleep feels safe enough to approach. The door to sleep is locked by our desperate fumbling with the key. The moment we stop trying to force it, we often find the door was unlocked all along, and it gently swings open on its own. Imagine a person standing in a field on a day with a soft breeze. A single beautiful white feather begins to float down from the sky. The person is captivated by its beauty and decides they must have it. They lunge for it, but their own motion creates a gust of air that pushes the feather just out of reach. They try again, swiping at it with their hand, but this only causes it to dance away more erratically. The more they strive, the more they chase and grasp, the more the feather eludes them. Finally, exhausted and frustrated, the person gives up. They lie down in the soft grass, close their eyes, and simply surrender, enjoying the feeling of the warm sun and the gentle breeze on their skin. A few moments later, they feel a soft, delicate tickle on their cheek. They open their eyes, and there it is. The feather, having been carried by the gentle currents of the air, has come to rest upon them all by itself. Sleep is this feather. Your desperate striving is the agitated wind that pushes it away. Your surrender, your acceptance, your willingness to simply rest is the stillness that invites it to land. This profound lesson that the greatest treasures are often found not through striving, but through surrender is one of the most valuable insights we can learn in the quiet laboratory of the night. But this wisdom is not meant to be confined to our beds. How do we take this hard-won peace, this knowledge of surrender, learned in our most vulnerable hours, and carry it with us out of the sanctuary of the bedroom and into the chaotic, demanding marketplace of the world? The profound peace we cultivate in the stillness of the night is not meant to be a fragile treasure locked away in our bedroom until the next evening. It is not a temporary anesthetic from which we must rudely awaken each morning. The ultimate purpose of emptying the bowl at night is to learn how to carry that spaciousness with us out of the quiet sanctuary and into the demanding, often chaotic, marketplace of our daily lives. The peace is not the goal itself, but the foundation upon which we can build a wiser, kinder, and more graceful life. The true test of our practice is not how still we can be when all is quiet, but how we can maintain our center when the world is noisy and demanding. The frantic pace of modern life trains us to live in a state of perpetual breathlessness. We rush from one task to the next, from one meeting to another, from one email to the next phone call, without ever truly pausing. We live in the future, our minds always 2 steps ahead, and our bodies are dragged along behind. The most powerful and practical way to weave the stillness of the night into the action of the day is through the intentional use of the sacred pause. These are mini meditations, lasting only a few moments, that can radically alter the texture of your day. You can create a simple practice for yourself, the 3-breath pause. Before you pick up the phone to make a call, before you press send on an important email, before you walk through the door into a meeting, you simply stop. You take one conscious breath, and you feel your feet on the floor coming back to your body. You take a second conscious breath, and you notice the present moment, the light in the room, the sounds around you. You take a third conscious breath, and you set a simple intention for your next action, such as, "May I be clear and kind." This entire process takes less than 15 seconds, yet it can transform a reactive, unconscious action into a mindful, intentional one. You can use any recurring event in your day as a bell of mindfulness, reminding you to pause, waiting for a traffic light to change, standing in line for coffee, waiting for your computer to boot up. Each pause is a moment of coming home. We can bring this same quality of awareness to one of our most fundamental daily activities, eating. For most of us, eating is a mindless act. We eat while scrolling on our phones, while watching television, while working at our desks. We barely taste the food. We often ignore the body's signals of fullness, and we miss the entire rich sensory experience. Mindful eating is a profound way to practice. Before you take the first bite, pause. Look at your food. Consider all the causes and conditions that brought it to your plate. The sun, the rain, the earth, the farmer, the truck driver, the grocer. Offer a moment of silent gratitude. As you take the first bite, do so with your full attention. Notice the flavors, the textures, the temperature. Chew slowly. Put your fork or spoon down between bites. This is not about being rigid or slow for its own sake. It is about being present. It is about bringing the receptive, appreciative quality of the empty bowl to the very act of filling your physical body. It is a simple act that grounds you, nourishes you on a deeper level, and transforms a mundane necessity into a rich and satisfying meditation. Perhaps the greatest arena for our daily practice is in our interactions with other people. So often in conversation, we are not truly listening. We are engaged in what is called a dialogue of the deaf. While the other person is speaking, our mind is busy formulating our rebuttal, thinking of a clever story to share, judging their opinion, or simply waiting for our turn to speak. Mindful listening is the practice of offering another human being the rare and beautiful gift of your full, undivided presence. It means setting aside your own agenda, your own stories, your own need to be right, and simply receiving what the other person is offering. You listen not just with your ears, but with your whole body. You listen to their words, but you also listen to the emotions underneath the words, the vulnerability in their voice, the expression in their eyes. This is the practice of making the bowl of your awareness completely empty and available for another's experience. It is a profound act of generosity that not only deepens your relationships and dissolves conflict, but also brings a great sense of peace to your own mind, freeing it from the exhausting work of constant judgment and calculation. When we begin to sprinkle our day with these small moments of mindfulness, the sacred pauses, the mindful bites, the deep listening, something remarkable begins to happen. The peace we cultivate at night is no longer a separate, isolated experience. It becomes our new baseline. The nightly practice is like building a deep, solid foundation for a house. The daily, mindful moments are like maintaining the structure, keeping it clean and in good repair. When the inevitable storms of life arrive via sudden, stressful deadline, a difficult confrontation with a colleague, a piece of bad news, we are far less likely to be toppled. We have a reservoir of stillness, a deep well of peace within us to draw from. The peace is no longer something we have to go away and find on a meditation cushion. It becomes the very ground of our being, a quiet strength that we carry with us wherever we go. Imagine a wise traveler who must cross a vast, hot desert. Before beginning her journey, she arrives at a deep, cool, life-giving oasis. She knows the desert ahead will be arduous. A foolish traveler might drink her fill and then charge into the desert, hoping the memory of the water will be enough to sustain her. But the wise traveler does something different. She carefully, and with great respect, fills a large clay jar with the cool water from the oasis. As she begins her long walk across the hot sands, she protects this jar above all else. And every so often, when she feels the heat becoming intense, when her throat becomes dry, and her spirit begins to falter, she stops. She removes the seal from the jar, and she takes a single, slow, conscious sip of the cool water. That small sip is enough. It refreshes her body, it reminds her of the deep peace of the oasis, and it gives her the strength to continue her journey. The nightly practice of emptying the bowl is the filling of your jar, the deep, cool oasis of stillness. The mindful pauses, the moments of conscious eating and deep listening, these are the small, deliberate sips you take throughout the hot desert of your busy day. They are what allow you to carry the peace of the oasis with you all the way through your journey. The true measure of our practice is not found in how peaceful we can be when all is quiet, but in how we weave that peace into the very fabric of our active, messy, and beautiful lives. Yet even with this jar of water, there will be times when the mind's own inner turmoil feels like a raging sandstorm, a tsunami of emotion that threatens to overwhelm us completely. What do we do then? How do we meet these moments of intense inner chaos with wisdom? We have journeyed through many practices, cultivating a toolkit of wisdom to bring peace to the mind and body. We have learned to carry the stillness of the night into the day, yet there will be times when our inner turmoil feels like more than just a passing cloud or a gentle wave. There will be times when a storm of anxiety, a jolt of panic, or a profound wave of despair arises with such force that all our tools seem inadequate. It can feel like a hostile invasion, an enemy presence in the sanctuary of our mind, and our immediate, deeply conditioned instinct is to fight it, to suppress it, or to run from it in terror. It is in these very moments that we are invited to undertake the bravest and most transformative practice of all, to stop fighting, to turn around, and to learn how to befriend our own restless mind. The first step in this radical act of friendship is to change our perception of what anxiety is. We are accustomed to seeing it as a malfunction, a sign of weakness, a pathological state that needs to be eliminated. But what if anxiety was not an enemy, but a misguided messenger? What if it was a part of your own consciousness, a primitive and overzealous security guard, trying its very best to protect you from perceived danger? This inner guard is living in the past. It is still using an ancient playbook designed for physical threats in the wilderness. It cannot tell the difference between the threat of a predator and the threat of an unpaid bill or an awkward social encounter, so it rings the same deafening alarm bell for both. Our habit is to get angry at the guard for making so much noise. The practice of wisdom is to walk over calmly, acknowledge the alarm, listen to its report with compassion, and gently reassure it that you are safe. When you can see your anxiety not as an alien intruder, but as a loyal, if clumsy, part of your own system that is trying to help, your relationship with it begins to soften from one of conflict to one of curiosity. From this place of curiosity, we can begin a gentle internal dialogue. This is not a conversation in the normal sense, but a process of mindful inquiry. When you feel the familiar knot of anxiety tightening in your chest or stomach, the first step is to simply acknowledge its presence without judgment. Ah, there you are, old friend. I feel you. Then, instead of pushing it away, you can gently turn your attention toward it, locate it in your body, and with a genuine spirit of inquiry, you can ask it a silent question. What are you trying to protect me from? What are you so afraid will happen? Then you simply listen. The answer may not come in clear, coherent words. It may arise as an image, a fleeting memory, or simply a deeper, intuitive sense of the underlying fear. Fear of failure, a fear of rejection, a fear of being seen as inadequate, a fear of the unknown. The point is not to analyze the answer, but to simply receive it. This act of listening transforms the anxiety from a terrifying, monstrous force into a part of yourself that has a story, a motivation, and a deep vulnerability. It is no longer a monster to be slain, but a frightened child to be soothed. This brings us to the very heart of the practice, learning to hold our own suffering with unconditional, loving care. The great Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh teaches us to think of our anger, our fear, or our anxiety as a crying baby. Our habitual tendency, when we hear this baby crying inside us, is to do everything we can to ignore it. We turn up the television of distraction, we try to lock it in a room, or we even yell at it to be quiet, which of course only makes it cry louder and feel more abandoned and terrified. The practice of mindfulness, he teaches, is to act as a loving mother. The moment she hears her baby cry, she stops what she is doing and immediately goes to pick it up. She holds it tenderly in her arms. She embraces it. This is how we must learn to treat our own inner turmoil. We bring the warm light of our mindful attention directly to the physical sensations of the anxiety. We embrace the knot in our stomach with our awareness. We breathe into it as if our breath could be a soft, warm blanket. We hold our own pain with the same tenderness with which a mother holds her child, and we can whisper to that frightened part of ourselves, I am here with you. I will not abandon you. May you be peaceful. May you be safe. This is not about making the feeling go away. It is about offering it the one thing it has never had, our own unconditional, compassionate presence. In practicing this, it is crucial to remember that you are not alone in this struggle. The mind, in its moments of anxiety, loves to tell a story of isolation, that you are uniquely flawed, that everyone else has their life together, that there is something fundamentally wrong with you. This is the greatest illusion. This experience of inner turmoil, of fear, of feeling not good enough, is a fundamental, unavoidable part of the human condition. Every single person who has ever lived has felt fear. The wealthiest CEO, the most celebrated artist, the most enlightened spiritual teacher, they all have, or have had, their own version of the restless mind. To feel anxiety is not a personal failure. It is a sign that you are a sensitive, living human being. Knowing this, truly taking it in, can be incredibly healing. It lifts the heavy burden of shame. It allows us to see our own struggle, not as my private, shameful problem, but as our connection to all of humanity. We are all in this together. To befriend your inner turmoil is perhaps the deepest and most courageous expression of emptying the bowl. You are emptying it of the habit of self-rejection. You are emptying it of the poison of inner warfare. You are transforming your mind from a battlefield into a sanctuary, a safe and welcoming home where all of your experiences, even the most difficult ones, are allowed to be present and are met with the boundless warmth of your own compassionate heart. When we are no longer at war with ourselves, when we can hold even our deepest fears with love, our consciousness can begin to open to experiences that lie beyond the personal drama. We may begin to catch glimpses of something vaster, a deeper dimension of being that was always present, but was obscured by the smoke of our inner conflict. We began this journey with a simple human desire to find rest, to quiet the racing mind so that the body could find sleep. We sought a practical solution to a practical problem, but as we travel deeper along this path of stillness, we may begin to discover that it leads to unexpected destinations. The tools we use to calm the mind for sleep are the very same tools that have been used for millennia to explore the furthest reaches of human consciousness. The practice that begins as a simple therapy can, if we allow it, blossom into a profound spiritual journey. It can offer us glimpses of a reality far vaster, more mysterious, and more interconnected than our busy, everyday mind can possibly conceive. One of the first doorways to this deeper reality can be found in the transitional state between wakefulness and sleep, a fascinating realm known as hypnagogia. As you lie in bed, having calmed your body and quieted your mind, you may notice that the nature of your thoughts begins to change. The logical, linear narratives of the day begin to dissolve, replaced by a flowing, surreal cascade of images. You might see fleeting geometric patterns, vivid faces of people you don't know, or landscapes from worlds you've never visited. You might hear fragments of music, snippets of conversation, or words that seem to bubble up from nowhere. You may have a sensation of floating, of spinning gently, or of your body dissolving. For most of our lives, we dismiss this state as simply drifting off. We fall through it, unconscious. But the practice of mindfulness invites us to remain aware, to stay present as this threshold is crossed, to watch with gentle curiosity without grasping or analyzing as the strict CEO of our rational ego mind begins to leave his post for the night. In this state, the filters of logic are thin, and we have a more direct line to the creative, symbolic, and intuitive language of the subconscious. It is a realm of pure creativity, a space where insight can arise not as a logical conclusion, but as a fully formed image or feeling. As we become more comfortable with the act of surrender, sleep itself begins to reveal a deeper meaning. On the surface, it is a biological necessity, but from a wisdom perspective, sleep is a nightly rehearsal for the greatest letting go of all. Every night, we perform a profound spiritual practice. We willingly relinquish everything we believe ourselves to be. We let go of our name, our profession, our history, our ambitions, our relationships, our very body. The entire complex structure of the self, which we spend all day building and defending, is surrendered. We dissolve into a state of unknowing, a great mystery, and every morning we are, in a sense, reborn. We re-inhabit the body, we remember our name, we pick up the threads of our life story once more. By consciously engaging in this process, by meeting the nightly dissolution of the self with trust and peace instead of fear, we are training ourselves in the art of surrender. Sleep becomes a pilgrimage, a nightly return to the source from which we came, a practice that prepares us to meet the great transitions of life and death with grace and without fear. Through this dedicated practice of quieting the mind, there may come moments of an even more profound stillness. We have spoken of the gaps between thoughts, the tiny pauses in the stream of mental chatter. But as the mind becomes exceptionally calm and stable, these gaps can widen. There may arise moments, lasting for seconds or even longer, where the stream of discursive thought ceases entirely, and yet, awareness remains. This is a state that is difficult to describe with words, as words are the very tools of the thinking mind that has fallen silent. It is not a blank trance or a state of unconsciousness. It is the opposite. It is a state of hyper-awareness, of pure, luminous knowing without an object to be known. In that moment, the sense of a separate I who is being aware dissolves. There is no longer a thinker, but only thought, free consciousness itself, peaceful, boundless, and utterly complete. These are not states to be striven for, as the very act of striving creates thought and pushes them away. They are moments of grace, glimpses into the mind's own natural, pristine nature that can arise when the bowl has become truly, deeply empty and still. In these moments of profound stillness, when the construct of the personal self has been temporarily set aside, an even deeper insight can dawn, the direct, felt experience of interconnectedness. The hard, sharp boundary that we normally feel between me and the world begins to soften and become porous. The sense of being an isolated individual, a skin-encapsulated ego, separate from everything else, is revealed to be a persistent but ultimately illusory perception. You may feel that the awareness that is looking out through your eyes is the very same awareness that is looking out through the eyes of every other living being. You may sense that the life force that animates your own breath is the same life force that animates the tree outside your window and the clouds moving across the sky. The feeling is not one of losing yourself, but of expanding to include everything. It is a glimpse into the non-dual reality that the great mystics and sages of all traditions have spoken of. There is a classic metaphor for this experience. Imagine a single drop of water, perhaps perched on the tip of a leaf after a rainstorm. For a time, it has its own identity. It is a drop. It is separate, defined by its own surface tension, reflecting the whole world in its tiny, individual form. It believes its entire existence is contained within that fragile boundary. Then, a gentle breeze shakes the leaf, and the drop falls. It falls and merges into the vast, limitless, shining ocean below. In that moment of merging, does the drop of water die? Or does it, for the first time, become what it truly always was? It does not cease to be water. On the contrary, it becomes the totality of water. It has simply let go of its small, limited, and temporary identity as a drop, and has realized its true eternal nature as the ocean itself. The separate self we cling to so dearly is this drop of water. The glimpses of deeper consciousness that can arise through this practice are the moments of merging with the ocean of being. It is not an annihilation of the self, but a glorious expansion beyond it. The path that began with a simple wish for a good night's sleep has led us here, to the shore of this vast ocean, to the edge of the mystery of who we truly are. These glimpses, however fleeting, infuse our journey with a profound sense of meaning, wonder, and purpose. And so, after this journey to the edge of the cosmos and the depths of the self, we return. We return to the simple, humble, and infinitely profound image that has guided us all along, the empty bowl. And so, after a long journey that has taken us through the landscapes of the past and future, into the cells of our own body, through the heart of our deepest fears, and to the very edge of consciousness itself, we return. We come full circle, back to the simple, humble, and infinitely profound image with which we began, the empty bowl. But we do not return the same as when we left. We now see this bowl not as a distant concept, but as a lived reality. We have felt its spaciousness in the quiet moments between our thoughts, and we have learned the grace required to empty it of its heavy contents. This is the culmination of our journey, to understand the nature of this bowl and to claim it as our own. The first great truth we now understand is that this emptiness, this peace, is not a destination we have struggled to reach. It is not an exotic state we have achieved or constructed. It is our original nature uncovered. Peace is not something you build. It is what remains when you stop building the walls of anxiety and regret that obscure it. It is like the sun on a cloudy day. The sun is always there, in its full, radiant glory. We do not need to create the sun. Our work is simply to have the patience and wisdom to allow the clouds to part. Or imagine a block of marble. A great sculptor does not add anything to the stone to create a beautiful statue. The form is already latent within it. The sculptor's art is one of removal. They skillfully and patiently chip away all the excess stone that is not the statue. Our practice is this work of sculpting. We are not adding peace or compassion or wisdom to ourselves. We are gently chipping away the layers of conditioned habit, the worry, the judgment, the resentment, the self-criticism, to reveal the masterpiece that was always already there, waiting patiently within. Because of this, we understand that the practice of emptying the bowl is not a one-time event. It is a continuous, life-affirming process, like tending to a home or a garden. You do not sweep the floor of your house once and expect it to remain clean forever. Dust naturally accumulates. It is not a sign of failure. It is simply the nature of life. Our practice of mindfulness is the gentle, daily sweeping of the mind. It is the loving act of tending to our inner space, of clearing away the mental dust that inevitably gathers from our interactions with the world. You do not bathe your body once and consider the job finished for a lifetime. We bathe daily to wash away the grime of the day and restore ourselves to a state of freshness. Our nightly practice is this same act of hygiene for the soul. We are cleansing the mind of the residue of stress and distraction, allowing it to return to its natural state of bright, clean clarity. This is not a chore to be endured, but a loving and necessary act of self-care. In this continuous practice, we discover that true freedom lies in cultivating the very nature of the bowl itself, its profound, unwavering equanimity. A bowl is the perfect teacher of non-clinging. It does not feel sad or lacking when it is empty. It does not become proud or arrogant when it is filled with precious jewels. It does not complain when it holds bitter medicine or feel joyful when it holds sweet water. Its great power, its great virtue, is its unconditional allowing. It simply receives what comes and lets go of what goes, without preference or resistance. Its purpose is fulfilled in its readiness to accept whatever life offers. This is the bowl-like quality of heart we cultivate. We learn to receive the full spectrum of life's experiences, the pleasant and the painful, the beautiful and the ugly, the praise and the blame, with this same spacious, non-clinging acceptance. We understand that all of these experiences are temporary contents, while our true nature is the unwavering vessel that holds them. This is the source of an unshakable and profound peace, a peace that is not dependent on circumstances being a certain way. And this leads us to the final, most empowering realization of our entire journey. The bowl is not just a metaphor for the mind, it is a metaphor for you. You are the bowl. That boundless space, that infinite potential, that quiet resilience, that compassionate capacity to hold all of life's experiences without being broken by them. This is not something you need to acquire from the outside. It is the very essence of who you are. The entire journey of this practice has been a journey of remembering this forgotten truth. It is the process of disidentifying with the fleeting, temporary contents the thoughts, the roles, the stories, the emotions, and re-identifying with the timeless, spacious, and eternal container. You are not the anxiety you feel. You are the space that holds the anxiety. You are not the memory that arises. You are the awareness in which the memory appears and dissolves. You are not the body that aches. You are the loving presence that cares for the aching body. Let us return, one last time, to the story of the scholar and the Zen master. When we first heard this story, we likely identified with the scholar. We were the ones with the full cup, brimming with our own ideas, our own problems, our own knowledge, desperate for a solution. We watched as the master poured the tea, and we understood the lesson. We must first empty our cup before we can receive anything new. But now, after this long journey, our perspective has shifted. We can now identify with the master. We have become the one who understands the supreme importance of emptiness. We are the one who now holds the teapot. We have learned, through our own direct experience, the wisdom of gently, patiently, and compassionately emptying our own cup, not just once, but every single day, so that we may be truly available to taste the fresh, rich, and unique flavor of each present moment. This is the journey from being a student of a path to becoming a practitioner of it, from seeking peace to embodying it. We have now traveled the full path of this practice, from identifying the problem of the overfilled mind to realizing that our true nature is the ever-present, peaceful emptiness itself. We have learned to use the breath as an anchor, the body as a home, and our awareness as a gentle light. We have learned to make peace with our past and future, to befriend our most difficult emotions, and even to glimpse the boundless nature of consciousness. And it has all led us back here to this simple and complete understanding. Now, let us pause one last time to gather the most precious jewels of this path and hold them in our hearts as we prepare to complete our journey together. Our long journey together now draws to a close. We began in the dark, in the quiet desperation of 3 a.m, feeling trapped in the frantic, spinning labyrinth of our own minds. We felt ourselves to be the victim of our thoughts, a helpless passenger on a runaway train. From that place of suffering, we embarked on a path of discovery. We learned to anchor ourselves in the simple, faithful rhythm of the breath. We learned to come home to the body, to inhabit it with kindness, and to listen to its wisdom. We learned to sit on the bank of the river of our mind, watching our thoughts pass by without being swept away by their current. We made peace with the ghosts of yesterday and released our anxious grip on the phantoms of tomorrow. We cultivated a heart that is balanced, steady, and vast enough to hold all of life's experiences. We learned to tame our own inner turmoil, not with aggression, but with the gentle, fearless power of loving kindness. And through it all, we were guided by the simple, profound image of an empty bowl. If there is one essential truth to carry with you from this journey, let it be this: the peace you seek is not somewhere else. It is not in a future achievement, a different set of circumstances, or in the possession of any external thing. The peace you seek is your own natural state. It is the fundamental ground of your being, which has been here all along, obscured by the clouds of mental habit. It is like the deep, profound stillness at the bottom of a lake. The winds of life or thoughts, our experiences, our gains and losses will always create ripples and waves on the surface. We have spent most of our lives on that turbulent surface, trying to command the wind, an exhausting and impossible task. This path has not been about stopping the wind. It has been about learning how to access the unshakable stillness of the lake's depths, a peace that is always available, always present, no matter how much the surface may churn. You now possess all the tools you will ever need. They are not complicated or esoteric. They are your own breath, your own body, and your own awareness. These tools are always with you. They cost nothing, and no one can ever take them away from you. This is not a path of perfection, but a practice of patience. There will be days when your mind is a raging storm, and nights when sleep feels distant. This is not a failure, it is simply the weather of the mind. The practice is to meet these moments not with judgment or frustration, but with a renewed commitment to gentleness, to remember your anchor, and to begin again with kindness. The bowl is yours. Its beautiful, resilient emptiness is your very being. May you tend to it with care, and may you always find your way home to the profound and unwavering peace that resides within it.